We did not find any direct link between the purported Parkinson's disease to paraquat. This is an allegation which must be proven by peer-reviewed scientific evidence to support the cause.
In the UK and the EU, paraquat is banned. In Australia, it's highly restricted to trained operators. In the US, it has to be administered from a tractor. Whereas in Kenya, anybody can go into a shop and buy paraquat. There's no restrictions around it.
Similarly, here in Kenya, we have our own regulations that guide the evaluation process. In Australia, they have not taken a similar decision to the US. They do according to the country needs.
The people who are bringing these cases, lawyers, health workers, claim that there is widespread effect on people's health in these communities.
Yes, there is a lot of pesticide activism here in Kenya, and anybody can say anything. And we have had people who do what we call targeted research with a predetermined outcome so that people can report what they wanted to report. So here in Kenya, we have a regulatory mechanism in place which ensures that the pesticides we have allowed for use by our Kenyan stakeholders are safe both to humans and also the environment if used according to label instructions.
We've seen in our reporting that very few people or maybe even no people use, for example, the correct PPE on a regular basis. So given that lack of precautions that people seem to be taking, isn't it quite a dangerous environment to be selling these sorts of hazardous chemicals into?
Like you have made observation, we've done a survey. Quite a population, maybe like 50% of them could not be using the right PPEs, but they use some form of protective clothing. So while it is true that they don't use the appropriate protective clothing, the exposure to the same pesticides might not be as alarming as reported by pesticide activists here in this country.
The case is still ongoing in the court in Nairobi. Kelvin and the other lawyers are now applying for some of the farm workers, including the man that we met with Parkinson's disease, to formally join the case as claimants. The challenge ahead of Kelvin and his team is to prove the impact of these chemicals in a context which, in many ways, is a vacuum of information, where people are unsure what pesticides they've used, where many health conditions go undiagnosed, where there's no record of the number of Parkinson's cases, and where there's limited uptake of PPE. Amid all these unknowns, will they be able to build a case that will convince the court? This edition of Assignment was produced and presented by me, Josephine Casserly.
That was Assignment from...
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live in downtown Winnipeg in our Studio 15 with the morning show on CBC. Thanks so much for being with us on 89.3, 990 AM on the app. We're streaming on YouTube this morning. Active night across the province, or much of the province last night. In Winnipeg, quite a loud thunderstorm, and we're going to hear a little bit from Heather in the news about some of the impacts of that on traffic and around town this morning. Let's say good morning to the team first. We will go to Heather Wells in our news centre in a moment. So good morning to Heather. Also good morning to Abby Adiyemi, who's behind the controls, our senior tech. Abby covers the weather on the show. Mr. Corey Funk is here too. Corey directs the program and will cover your commute. And there's Mr. Darren Marash. He's a producer of our YouTube stream, so please say hello if you're watching there. Today in Winnipeg, cloudy with a 30% chance of showers this morning, then a mix of sun and cloud. Risk of a bit of a thunderstorm as well with us and local smoke. Our high is going to be right around 29 degrees, but with Humidex, it's going to feel like 38. Let's go to Heather Wells now and find out more about other stories that are developing today. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, as soon as you step outside, you're going to notice branches down in parts of the city, leaves all over the place. It was quite a storm that moved through last night. I was speaking with Winnipeg police, and they said they were busy responding to issues related to the thunderstorm and outages, which have impacted some street lights as well as some traffic lights in the city. We're going to hear more about how long it's going to take to get things back up and running. But if you do encounter an area where there's no lights, no traffic lights, as usual, treat it as a four-way stop. So we'll bring you the latest on that. And the death of a dog rescue volunteer has led to 18 animal welfare organizations to call on governments to do more to mitigate dog overpopulation. We'll hear about that in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Well, as she mentioned, be careful out there in traffic. I drove through a few actually lights, not realizing because it was just dark out still at that time, and the lights were out because of the storm. So 788-3093 if you have anything to report. Today on the show, we're going to be talking to a man from Gimli. We're getting ready for the Diglin Doggerin, the Icelandic Festival of Manitoba this weekend. So stay tuned. We'll find out more about it. Also, to serious news here, Saudi Arabia and the U.S. have attacked Iran-backed paramilitary groups in Iraq. We'll hear more in World Report. We'll have some analysis after 6.
Today on Q.
Renelta Arluk spent her childhood on a trap line in the Northwest Territories where nights ended around the campfire with stories. Those moments shaped one of Canada's most groundbreaking theater voices. She's here to tell you her story.
We would be in spring camp, just being near water, near the bush, in the trees.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. The union representing some WestJet flight attendants has issued a 72-hour strike notice. It means that if a deal is not reached, workers could be on the picket line as early as Sunday. Cheyenne Desjardins is following the story. And Cheyenne, what is the latest?
So much of this breaking overnight and right before what's a busy summer long weekend in many provinces. So the union represents 4,400 flight attendants at WestJet. And like you mentioned, this 72-hour strike notice means a strike could begin as soon as Sunday if the two sides don't reach a deal. So the union says one of the key issues is flight attendants not being paid for certain things like ground duties. Now, the airline responded by issuing a 72-hour lockout notice, warning that some flights could be grounded by tomorrow, but the two sides are still actively negotiating to reach a deal.
What does this mean for passengers?
Well, WestJet says it operates more than 600 flights per day, and on some days carrying more than 70,000 passengers. So if this strike does happen, it'll potentially be felt by many travelers. This is a big airline, Canada's second largest. Now, that being said, WestJet has been allowing passengers with flights scheduled between now and August 4th to make a one-time change or cancel with no fee, and says should flight delays or cancellations occur, impacted people will be refunded or re-accommodated, quote, as applicable.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The CBC Cheyenne Desjardins in studio. Police believe they have recovered the body of a missing 11-year-old Calgary boy. Parker disappeared about 2 weeks ago, prompting the community to rally together and try and find him. And as Aina Sidhu reports, it is a heartbreaking end to an exhaustive search.
For nearly 2 weeks, so many people woke up hoping it would be the day Parker came home.
Calgary Police Chief Katie McLellan says the search that has gripped the city has ended in tragedy.
It is with profound sadness that I can confirm that we have found the body of a small child, which we believe to be Parker.
Parker was last seen July 16th wandering without a shirt. The 11-year-old was nonverbal. His disappearance prompted a massive search involving hundreds of officers and civilians. In the end, investigators say they received a tip from the public that a shoe had been found off a busy highway. Police had searched that general area around a creek before. Search manager Sergeant Rich Wall says they believe Parker wandered into a network of tunnels that were difficult to access.
The pipe is a 4-foot concrete pipe that goes into a myriad of other pipes. The labyrinths of pipes change in different diameters.
Inspector Lee Wayne with the Major Crimes Unit says they never gave up hope.
It's a somber day for Calgary today, but really our thoughts are with Parker's family.
Police say they are grateful to everyone who helped search for the little boy. Ina Sidhu, CBC News, Calgary.
People in the Ukrainian city of Lviv clear out the debris of a building damaged by a Russian strike. At least 8 people were killed and dozens more were injured across the country overnight. The heaviest casualties are being reported in the western city and also the Dnipro regions. In the capital, Kyiv, underground metro stations are serving as shelters. Those seeking cover say they don't believe Russians want peace.
For the sake of our children and all Ukrainians, we want to sleep peacefully, not live in constant fear of terrible explosions. We just want a normal, decent life in Ukraine.
NATO member Poland, meanwhile, is confirming this morning that a Russian missile fell within Polish borders overnight. More countries are being pulled into the U.S.-Israel war in Iran. The U.S. military has confirmed it launched a wave of strikes against Iran. It says it was in retaliation for attempted attacks on U.S. military positions in nearby countries. Today, Egypt's government says a fire at one of its ports was caused by a drone attack. The CBC's Willie Lowry joins me now from Washington. And Willie, what can you tell us?
So U.S. Central Command is confirming that Washington rolled out a wave of heavy strikes on several Iranian military targets. The White House says it is responding to what it calls a surprise attack by Iran yesterday, targeting military command centers, missile and drone facilities, as well as coastal surveillance and defense sites in Iran. President Donald Trump outlined the current state of the war while speaking to journalists on Wednesday.
We're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming. They're asking us not to do it.
Iran responded by launching missiles at U.S. bases in Jordan, which were intercepted. They also, though, hit a facility belonging to a Chinese company in Kuwait. Kuwait's defense ministry says one person was killed in that attack. All of this is happening while Saudi Arabia and Egypt appear to be getting drawn into the conflict. Earlier this week, Saudi Arabia took part in joint strikes with the U.S. against Iranian-backed militia in Iraq, and a suspected Iranian drone attack has hit an Egyptian port.
Has there been any movement on the peace negotiations?
Not really. Pakistan's foreign ministry says the country is doing its best to try to get both sides back to the negotiating table, but at least for the time being, the countries appear content to trade tit-for-tat strikes. Iran believes time is on its side as the war drags closer and closer to the U.S. midterms in November, while the U.S. says it's dominating Iran militarily. U.S. President Donald Trump has so far refrained from returning to full-out war, but according to U.S. media, he has been given multiple options by the military.
Thank you, Willie.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. French authorities say 3 people died trying to cross the English Channel near Dunkirk. Search and rescue teams were deployed after a water taxi was spotted near a breakwater. The people on board were found unconscious and confirmed dead after being taken ashore. Oxford University's Migration Observatory says tens of thousands of people reach the UK by small boats each year. Between 2018 and 2025, at least 162 people died in Channel waters. Japan's government says at least 30 people are dead after Tuesday's earthquake. Many of them died at a paper factory and a shopping mall near the southwestern city of Kumamoto. Police have released video of officers combing through the destroyed shopping center. A suspected gas explosion tore through the building minutes after the quake. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara says relief efforts continue around the clock.
Saving lives and rescuing those affected by the disaster is truly a race against time. Today as well, the police, fire services, and self-defense forces will continue to make every possible effort in rescue and life-saving operations.
Thousands of people have been moved to evacuation shelters. Tens of thousands of people are without power. And finally, some say it is the most beautiful ship in the world. The Italian tall ship Amerigo Vespucci is now docked in Montreal. The ship is named after an Italian explorer from the 1500s. This is the last stop on its North American tour. And as Gloria Enriquez reports, Montrealers are being welcomed aboard to take a look.
It's a sailboat, very magnifico.
Denise Desrochers drove half an hour from Saint-Bruno-de-Montarville in Quebec to the port of Montreal's Grand Quai to see the Amerigo Vespucci in all its glory. The wooden vessel, built in 1931, features 4 masts with thick ropes streaming down and a giant green, white, and red flag waving off the stern.
Imagine the people. The pirates.
While there are no pirates on board, there are about 400 crew members. The Vespucci is used as a training ship for the Italian Navy. Inside the wheelhouse, Lieutenant Tommaso Magenes describes how the ship turns. 8 cadets use 4 wooden wheels to steer, so if they want to turn 10 degrees,
they have to move this one like 40 times. And it's very, very hard.
The ship is also a floating ambassador for Italy.
That's a very unique moment for us.
Julien Baudry is with the Montreal Port Authority. He says the Vespucci is arriving at the perfect time.
At a moment where Canada wants to diversify, when we get that type of ship coming at the Port of Montreal, we are developing close ties.
Baudry says Italy is the Port of Montreal's 3rd largest trading partner and has a long history of welcoming Italian immigrants. The ship's visit, he says, celebrates all those connections. Gloria Enriquez, CBC News, Montreal.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime. CBCNews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, hello, everybody, and good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa, live in downtown Winnipeg on CBC, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. What a night. What a storm over Winnipeg. Other parts of the province also were at risk last night. I know here in the city, just woken up by flashes of lightning and thunder. There's branches down, and there are pockets of power outage over a lot of neighborhoods today. Be careful if you're driving. There's also pockets of outages in terms of light standards being out. So we'll update all of that with the information we have to this hour in a moment. Right now, 6:10 a.m. Thursday morning, and we're heading into the long weekend, August long. We're going to talk to a man from Gimli who's been helping with the Icelandic Festival of Manitoba on August long since he was 13 years old. 3 decades later, he's still eager to talk about this year's events, so we'll talk to him. Also this hour, investors lost hundreds of billions of dollars when the dot-com bubble burst over a quarter of a century ago. Is something similar headed our way now with AI? It's a question many are asking. We have our tech columnist on that this hour. Well, let's return to Manitoba stories. Heather Wells has your headlines and updates. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, thunderstorms rolled across southern Manitoba last night and right over power lines in some areas. Leaves and branches are scattered across streets and sidewalks. A few hundred customers are waking up to outages in Winnipeg and just outside Winnipeg. Some traffic and streetlights are out. Winnipeg police say they stepped in overnight to respond to issues related to the storm. You can check the Manitoba Hydro outage map to see which areas are impacted and when power might be back on. The province is sending out pamphlets saying the government's lowering grocery prices, but a new report suggests the total price for essential groceries in Manitoba is actually rising. We heard some of that yesterday. We're going to hear some reaction to it coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
Last night, Heather, probably around, 10:30, 11, I heard outside something, and I thought it was a plane going over and the lights. I thought, whoa, the lights are really bright, though. And then my brain was half asleep, so then I realized, okay, it's a storm. But
yeah, that's lightning.
Oh,
that
what
is
a
bright.
Storm. Yeah, right. Did you have lots of flashes in sort of the deeper south end of the city?
And you're right about the sound, too. The lights and the sound. That storm was it was pretty big.
Yeah. So we today could see a few more showers. Thanks, Seth.
You're welcome.
She's back with next local news, as she mentioned here at 6:30. But we could see a few more showers. We have a slight chance anyway in Winnipeg. Abby's in with our forecast. Not as hot as yesterday.
Yes, I had to check and double check. The heat warnings kind of disappeared on my radar this morning, but there's still like it's going to be another warm day across board. We still have a few communities waking up to lingering smoke, and of course, we will see scattered showers and maybe thunderstorms in some area as we start the day, and some might get it later in the day. Here in the Red River Valley region, Winnipeg, it starts in the morning. We're seeing temperatures close to 25 degrees already. We're looking at 25 at the airport. It's mostly cloudy outside. After that, overnight storms we got. Now, there's still a few chance of a few showers and a risk of another storms this morning before the skies would gradually becoming a mix of sun and clouds. But look out for those local smoke. It remains possible in the air, and we'll see some southwest winds shift to the northwest around the noon period with our afternoon high reaching 29, and it's going to feel close to 38 with the humidex factored in. And if you look at the UV index, it's still on the high side. We're looking at 8, and it's 8 plus, and it's on the very high side. And if you look at where traffic and weather meets with the natural occurrence last night, we have 3 branches on the road that were blown on the road, so look out for that. Corey's going to tell you more.
All right, Corey, tell us more.
Lots of tree branches on the road. That's it. Yeah. No, it's
Okay, we want more from you, Corey. Like, our bar is set a little higher than that.
Yeah, it is, and I will try to meet that bar as much as I can. I mean, I was just studying the outage map, and really the patches run pretty much on all over the city, all the way from big patches just west of Assiniboine Park. There's also a big patch north of Wolseley, right on Portage Avenue there. Like you mentioned, you saw Dominion and Portage out.
Yeah,
those lights
there.
out as well.
And honestly, I went right through it. So, like, be really careful just because you don't expect that.
Yeah, it catches you off guard.
It's not flashing, it's just out.
Abby was even saying on his way in down Pembina from about Plaza to Stafford, also those lights all out. So you can expect patchy lights out throughout the city. I would love to get updates from you depending on what you're seeing out there. Also looks like there's a big power outage around the Fermor, around the Mint area as well. So just give us a call. Tell me what you're seeing out there. Help your fellow drivers, listeners out. Would love to hear from you. We have reached out to Hydro, so we're hoping to get more information. Give us a call in the meantime, 204-788-3093.
Well, Island Dingadogrin is right around the corner now. That is the 137th Annual Icelandic Festival of Manitoba. It does start tomorrow in Gimli, and the theme this year is Interconnected Shores. They celebrate the resilience through community and recognizing also the history that defines the Icelandic culture. Robbie Russo is up early, past president and life member of the Icelandic Festival of Manitoba. He's been helping with the event for over 3 decades. Good morning.
Good morning.
So before we get to the festival, Robbie, what are things like in Gimli? I'm just curious. Did you guys get stormy last night too?
Oh, Thor was having a little fun down here too, yeah?
Yep. You guys must, I forget you celebrate the god of thunder. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Good. How old were you when you started getting involved with the Icelandic Festival?
I was 13 years old. A family friend, Miss Lorna Turgeson of the Store fame, was president at the time, and she asked me what I thought of the festival, and I was very truthful, as young teenagers are, and told her I was bored. There was nothing to do, and she did something that really altered the course of my life, and she challenged me to do something about it. She says, "Well, join, do something," and I did. The nativity of youth, I did, and it's stuck with me for a while.
I love that story. What did you change back in the day, Robbie? Do you remember? Like, what did you add?
Well, back then they used to have a teen dance, so I got involved with that, and we brought there used to be this Much video dance tour where Much Music would come around with big screens. So I got them to come out, and then we started the Saturday stage at the Harbor. There was only music in Gimli on the Sunday night way back in the day, so now we have music on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, and just slowly got more involved. And back then you're also just free labor, so you're helping move pianos around and do everything to make the little small town festival happen. Yeah, I heard it got you hooked on volunteering over the years. I want to ask about the music this year. So who's going to be playing this weekend? We have a great, diverse selection of music. We've got an amazing artist from Iceland by the name of Olaf Arnalds, who's making a return to Manitoba. She was here 15 years ago, maybe a little bit more, with another Icelandic event called Nuna Now. We have Brandon Sutton and the Prairie Joggers and Car 287 on Friday nights. Big City Filters doing a little afternoon happy hour set down in the harbor on Saturday with Olaf and her partner are going to do a little show, and these great young kids called We're Only Here for the Snacks. And Jamie Buckborough and friends are going to close things out on Saturday night with fireworks down in the harbor.
How about activities this year? If someone's never been to Gimli, I mean, I've been to the festival many times myself, but I mean, really, if someone's never been, how do you explain what goes on there?
Well, I think the whole community really opens their arms up to treat everyone royally when they come to Gimli. There is something going on every day. Very little of it has any fee to it. It's all basically free. There's a couple events that have ticket prices on them because they're just limited as to the space that they're in. But we have great food and craft vendors. We have a huge Viking village and battle shows, strongman competitions. There's beach volleyball and sandcastle contests. And for those that are really ambitious, there's a 10-mile road race, a 5-kilometer race, a 1-mile fun run, so you can get out there and win some great medals for being really active on a long weekend morning.
Which doesn't always happen. What memories do you have of the festival over the years that have really stayed with you, either about visitors or something you would have really enjoyed?
Yeah, we've been lucky to have such a great relationship with Iceland. So, in the last few years, being able to bring artists and musicians over from Iceland, the unique opportunity that Manitoba has with our relationship with Iceland to have the head of government and the head of state has come to Gimli numerous times over the last 20 years. To have the president and prime minister of Iceland come to our little small town is really great. When I was president, I was a little bit crazy enough and got up really early and ran that 5-kilometer road race, and that was fun and challenging and I could say life-changing. I don't think I've been up that early on a Sunday morning at Gimli for a long time on the long weekend.
And you still remember it.
Exactly. And of course, our wonderful fireworks show. We have really great fireworks that could take off over off the pier, and you're in the harbor and on the beach, and we have the music, and there's a beverage garden that you can watch all this for. It's kind of it's special.
Well, we have left some time for some music. We're going to play some Olaf Arnalds. The song is Heimjörn Nuna. I may be saying that incorrectly, so
yeah.
I hope I got that right. But you can check Olaf Arnalds out at Gimli this weekend. Robbie, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Brosir við þér, gerir það eitthvað fyrir þig. Misturðu trúna, það blasir við mér að það gæti fært okkur yfir. En svo það svo, ef við sitjum tvo við tvo og sinnum það sko, þá fyllist sinnið af því sem ég skil ekki. Ég gef þér rætur, þú veist hvað ég meina, þær fingerðu tengja okkur saman. Litrika nætur ég götuna beina, geng pínu rauð í framan. Við erum eitthvað sko, ef við gerum því tvo, skón og sinnum það svo, þá fyllist sinnið af því sem að gaman. Jónsmessu drop sópar heiminn lita, gerir það eitthvað fyrir þig. Dagar sópar viltu vita, hvernig þeir færa mig yfir. Og seg mér þá, ef við sitjum tvo við þrjá, hvað höfum við þá? Nema daginn þinn sem gleymdist manstu daginn. Leif mér að blæða, þú veist hvað ég meina, það býr svo margt innra með mér. Hjarta þitt bræða svo súrefnið reyna, komist óhindrað að þér. Og 1002 nætur, hvernig voru þær? Ég færi mig nær þér og finn mig að segja að ég elski þig aftur.
That's Iceland's Olaf Arnalds with Heimura Nuna, which means the world now. And Olaf Arnalds playing this weekend in Gimli. Perhaps you've caught her before at the West End Cultural Center. She's been to Winnipeg before, but you can enjoy her at the Icelandic Festival, Islandigadagurinn, which is happening, of course, through the long weekend. We were in conversation there with Robbie Russo, who's a past president and life member of the Icelandic Festival of Manitoba. And just a couple tips about going to Gimli this weekend. Of course, just it's only less than an hour north of Winnipeg. Highways just heading straight north to get you there. And traffic could be busy, so Robbie just wanted us to add, be mindful of traffic. Maybe consider not bringing your pets if you're going to be out there all weekend. It's been so very hot. But lots of vendors, and he describes it just like being at Folk Fest, he says. That's his language. So bring a tarp, a blanket, low-back chairs, and enjoy the day on the beach and in town. It is 6:25 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 990 a.m. on the app and on YouTube. I'm Marcy Marcusa in my town this morning in Winnipeg. Woo! Lots going on. So we've got a gray sky. We've got branches down. We've got about 100 customers with power out still from hydro. Check the maps for those outages, and that's affecting traffic in spots as well after a stormy night. Well, next on the program, the U.S.-Iran war is escalating once again with new players entering the fray. This week, Saudi Arabia and the Americans carried out a joint attack against Iran-backed militias in Iraq. Iran then hit back, launching a barrage of missiles at American forces. James Devine is with us. Devine, joins us with more. Professor of International Relations at Mount Allison University and an expert in Middle East conflict and politics. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
So let's start with what I just mentioned, the U.S.-Saudi strikes in Iraq Tuesday. So what's behind the move?
Well, to understand how this is happening, we have to go back about a week or so. When the ceasefire between Iran and the United States broke down and the fighting resumed, one of the very significant things that didn't happen was that Saudi Arabia was not hit. Saudi Arabia seemed to be left outside of the fighting for a period of time, and that was taken as a sign that Iran and Saudi Arabia had some sort of agreement in place, and that Iran was trying to limit the conflict in that respect. Now, shortly after that, the Houthis in Yemen got involved in the conflict and shut down the Red Sea to Saudi shipping. And since then, there's been an escalation in tensions between the Saudis and the Houthis, with a number of attacks going back and forth between the two sides. And then eventually, Iraqi Popular Mobilization Forces, which are Iranian-backed militias inside of Iraq, attacked Saudi oil infrastructure and refineries with drones. That was the spark that set off this set of retaliations we've seen over the past few days, with the Saudis and the Americans attacking the mobilization forces in Iraq, and then Iran responding, and then the latest round of retaliation coming last night with the United States hitting Iran.
Now, earlier this week, Trump said the U.S. was in negotiations with Iran. Then yesterday, in an interview with Fox News, he said the U.S. would be hitting Iran hard. What more are we taking from that statement as we look at forward and move forward with this and think about what might happen?
Well, Trump's statements are always contradictory. There's a lot of contradictions in what Trump says over time, and he's not the most transparent or easy person to read. But in this case, what he's saying actually does reflect the American position fairly well. The U.S. had tried to re-escalate the conflict and put military pressure on Iran when the ceasefire collapsed. That hasn't worked. And the Americans have been, in the past few days, looking for some sort of negotiated off-ramp and trying to find a different way to get what they want in the Strait of Hormuz. At the same time, if Iran is hitting their allies, the U.S. feels like it's obliged to respond. Otherwise, it's going to look like it has no ability to fight back. So it's kind of stuck in the two places. So we have seen the Americans talking to Iran. Donald Trump said he was going to hit Iran last night, and he did. What's significant is that the American strikes against Iran last night do not appear to have been that severe. Obviously, there were casualties and there was damage done, but it wasn't an escalation relative to what we had seen in the past. And I think to most observers, they're going to look at that, and the conclusion they're going to draw is that the United States is trying not to let the situation right now spin out of control, and they're trying to keep the negotiation process going forward.
All right, James, thank you for your time this morning.
My pleasure.
That's James Devine, Professor of International Relations at Mount Allison University. CBC.ca for more at the top of the clock on World Report. We are going to have local news here in a minute. Just a reminder to call us if you see any problems in traffic. We have lights out from in various pockets of the city because of hydro outages. Heather will talk about in a minute. But you can call us on the traffic line if they're affecting your morning commute or you want to add something. 788-3093. And we'll have a full regional forecast for you coming up as well. Phil DeMont is in this morning with our business news. In our business report, he's going to talk about the U.S. Federal Reserve and their interest rates holding steady. So we're going to hear more about that. He says it could be a problem, though, for their new chair. And also fills in with a story about how those American tariffs, the new ones, are hurting Canada's protein market, which will be interesting to hear because we have been talking about the price of different meats and proteins here in Manitoba, trending higher than parts of the rest of the country. So Phil's up after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it's 25 degrees. We still have a risk of a thunderstorm early this morning and then a mix of sun and clouds. Local smoke in the air, not as hot as yesterday, but still very warm, a high of 29. The humidex 38. Well, thunderstorms, you likely heard them, rolled across southern Manitoba overnight, right over power lines as well. And that means a few hundred customers are waking up to outages in Winnipeg and just outside the city. Leaves and branches litter streets and sidewalks. Some traffic and streetlights are out. Winnipeg police say they stepped in overnight to respond to issues related to the storm. You can check the Manitoba Hydro outage map to see which areas are impacted and when power might be restored. The Union for 4,400 WestJet flight attendants has issued a 72-hour strike notice. The airline is responding with a lockout notice and warns flights could be grounded by tomorrow. If no deal is reached, the attendants could walk off the job in the middle of the upcoming holiday weekend. Flight attendants have been without a contract since the end of last year. Pay is the main issue. The province is sending out pamphlets saying the government is lowering grocery prices. But a new report suggests the total price for essential groceries is actually rising. A lab at Dalhousie University found the combined price of 50 essential food items in Winnipeg increased from June to July. Gail Wolfram is one shopper frustrated by the rising price of groceries. She likes that the province removed the PST on some foods in July, but questions whether it's working.
It helps you not pay the tax on them, which obviously does help, but the actual prices are still going up way too much, and your stores are gouging. And I don't know what any government can do about that.
The government mailer points to this month's elimination of the PST as one way it is lowering prices. Opposition PC leader Abi Khan says shoppers haven't noticed any savings. A coalition of animal welfare groups is asking the province and the federal government for more funding for rescues. This follows the death of a Winnipeg volunteer, Amanda Nobis, on Sandy Bay, Ojibwe Nation. She died after being attacked by dogs earlier this month. K9 Advocacy, Partners in Prevention, and the Winnipeg Humane Society are asking governments to work with First Nations. Katie Powell helped organize yesterday's rally for the volunteers at the Manitoba Legislature.
Supporting community-led programs. That's the biggest thing that we want to address, is that it has to come from these First Nation communities. It has to come from the communities itself that want the change, and then we have to support those programs.
Another request the groups are asking for is for better access to veterinary services in remote communities. Well, construction is expected to start soon for a transitional housing project for military veterans. The Homes for Heroes Foundation held a sod-turning ceremony yesterday at that site in Transcona. The foundation says it's just a few permits away from beginning construction. R.G. Hemlow is one of the veterans on hand yesterday.
It just makes you feel like you really are seen, because at times we feel like we've been pushed aside, especially when you retire after a while.
The project was announced 4 years ago, but because of delays, the Winnipeg Veterans Village isn't expected to open until next spring. Some farmers in southeast Manitoba are seeing good crop turnout despite wet conditions. Reg Friesen farms and also runs Prairie Sky, a crop dusting company near Niverville. He says hot, humid conditions put crops at higher risk for disease and fungus, and that means more farmers spraying to protect their plants.
When the crops are looking good, farms will invest into that. You know, just like anything else. If the crops are doing poor, it doesn't matter how much rain or too much rain or not enough, you're not going to have farmers investing in their crops because the potential isn't there.
Friesen says his crop dusting company has been busier than usual because some fields are too wet to get to on the ground. In Calgary, police believe they have found the body of a missing 11-year-old boy. Parker, who has autism, disappeared about 2 weeks ago. Investigators say they have recovered a body from a water pipe near a major city expressway. They think the boy entered a culvert the day he wandered from home and became trapped inside the underground labyrinth of pipes. Police say the evidence suggests an accidental death. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Students at Louis Riel College now have a dedicated space to learn. The educational affiliate of the Manitoba Métis Federation has been operating for more than a decade without a physical campus. Now it has set up shop in the MMF building on Main Street. Joanne Remillard is Minister of Provincial Education for the MMF.
My vision is a building that will house all of our programs and many more. That's my dream. I'm working on that.
Louis Riel College offers diplomas for healthcare aides, Indigenous-focused early childhood education, and business accounting. It's also working to develop an Indigenous-focused program in practical nursing. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather Wells live in our news center this morning. Let's get into what's happening in the weather forecast. Abby and I were both searching this morning for heat warnings and didn't find them for the first day in many.
Yeah, I had to refresh all the. I just was like, am I sure I'm checking it?
I know, same with me. I'm like, really?
The system sure came through because yesterday I stepped outside and it felt like someone was baking beside me.
I know.
And I'm just like beside an oven.
Yeah, like no relief, right?
No relief.
Sticky, heavy air. It's still hot outside, but we don't have warnings.
Yep, another warm and humid day across the province. We have a few communities waking up to localized smoke this morning, while most of the areas are prone to see scattered showers and maybe thunderstorms later today. Some might even get it this morning. Here in the Red River Valley region, it's much more comfortable than yesterday and even the storms we saw overnight. We're starting with temperatures around 22 to 25, depending on where you are in the city. Mostly cloudy outside. We're expecting a few showers this morning. Then things will improve by the afternoon period when we see a mix of sun and clouds temperatures warm up close to 29, but it's still going to feel like 38, which is better than yesterday's 45. So I will take the 38, which was the actual temperature yesterday. And the winds would shift from the southwest to the northwest around the noon period. UV index still on the high side, very high for Winnipeg. Across the Pembina Valley region from Morris, more than all the way towards the Altona area, we're seeing 23 degrees there. Partly cloudy skies, expecting some clouds to roll in. There's a chance of showers this morning before things develop into more like a mix of sun and clouds by the afternoon period. Warming up to 28. Out west towards Brandon, you're waking up to 19 degrees. Also mostly cloudy there. A few morning showers in the forecast, or maybe some thunderstorms before you see lots of sunny conditions. A high of 28 for that region. Dauphin is at 16 and clear at this time. Gimli, we're looking at 21. You're warming up to 29. The humidex will be around 38 and the UV index close to 7 plus. Now trucking into the central parts of the province, the Par Flin Flon, really enjoying some sunny skies at this time. Temperatures around 18 degrees. A beautiful day ahead there. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds later. You only get to 25. Norway House at 17 with some cloudy skies. You see sunshine there. High 27, and Thompson at 15 and clear. Cloudy conditions later. There's a good chance of showers this afternoon. A high of 23. Then we go to Lynn Lake 17, Gillam 16, and of course Tudula Lake 14. All those regions will see highs in the 20s there. And for the Churchill region, you are still seeing those foggy conditions. 13 degrees at this time. Some scattered showers in the forecast, and the risk of thunderstorms continues through the day with a cool high of 15 for that region. So across board, it's still going to be warm and humid across the province. Winnipeg, we are currently just hovering near 25 at this time.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey Funk, we're still taking stock of the storms and the outages from last night and other things in the commute.
Yes, and a number of intersections out right now. So here's the ones that we know for sure. Here's the major ones. This is according to the city and Hydro. Roblin and Dale is out. Portage and Wall. Portage and Dominion, Grant and Shaftesbury, Pembina and McGilvery. Those lights all completely out, so treat that as a four-way stop. Also heard from Abby earlier, this may still be a problem, but in Pembina, he saw a number of lights out as well, pretty much right from Plaza to Stafford, both ways on Pembina. So that may still also be an issue. There is actually already a collision at Portage and Wall, blocking the westbound curb lane right now, so you want to keep left to get around that, and obviously don't know for sure if that's because of the lights, but it's quite possible, of course. So just really be careful at those intersections that are out. And if you have any other updates for me, you can let me know. Also got a call from Susan, who said in the south end of the city, she's out of power right now. She kind of lives like just south of the perimeter on St. Mary's there. She actually has a well, so she's actually out of water.
Yeah,
right
I saw
now.
some of the rural reporting stations this morning talking about other towns around Winnipeg in some of the bedroom communities, and maybe even a little bit further afield having issues with power. And we know the storms
the
were
hydro
kind
map,
of
lots
pocketing all over.
Lots west of the city,
Yep.
around St. Claude area as well. So Treeherne. So lots of power outages today. So you may have to be a bit patient. Looks like Hydro's got their hands full. If you do see anything else going on, give us a call on the CBC commuter line. That number to call 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
It's time for business news now. Phil Lamont is here to update us. Good morning, Phil.
Morning, Marcy.
So this week, the U.S. Federal Reserve held their interest rates steady. Let's start there. Why is that a problem in your view for the new chairman?
Yeah, on Wednesday, the Feds kept things where they were, 3.5%, fifth meeting in a row where the central bank more or less sat on its hands. But in response, the bond market blew up. The interest rate on the 30-year U.S. bond hit its highest level since 2007. The 10-year bond, highest in a year. That means the traders basically think, or they're trying to tell him, signal that the new chair, Kevin Warsh, you need to raise interest rates. The top line right now is that Warsh has been changing. She's trying to change how the central bank operates. He's not into long explanations in press conferences about what the Fed is, why the Fed's doing something. Jerome Powell used to explain stuff. Marsh doesn't feel the need. He also is not into giving predictions about where rates are headed. Transparency is a little more of an issue, so the market's filling in as a result. 3 votes 3 Fed governors voted to raise rates this time around. Well, that's a bunch of pushback within the bank on rates. Now, Warsh calls it a family discussion. It looks more like the kids aren't listening to dad kind of thing. Inflation in the U.S. has stayed above the bank's 2% target for 63 months now. So to hit that 2%, traders realize Warsh has to raise interest rates sometime, and they would rather have it be sooner rather than later. That's what the interest rate on the bond is telling you. Bigger issue is if the market stops listening to the Fed chair, it's hard to get your credibility back. And right now, traders are raising a skeptical eyebrow, giving the side eye to Trump's new chair. If he loses that audience, he might not get it back, and he might be kind of lame duck already within like a year of being appointed.
Let's go to another story. How are new American tariffs, which we've been talking about a lot since July 1st, how are they hurting the Canadian protein market?
Yeah, it turns out Canada exports protein to a number of countries in the form of whey and whey products, about $43 million U.S. according to the World Bank. The Americans are our biggest buyer. Whey is that watery yellow pure protein liquid you skim off of cheese. People usually use it in a powdered form. You get it at Popeyes and those kind of places. Yeah. And the way market is, wait for it, way up. That's because protein is I know. That's not really. It's kind of lame. But protein is a health commodity right now for people who work out, exercise, but also ones who take the diet drugs like Ozempic. So prices are up for the whey, up about 150% in the past few years. Standard 5-pound tub used to be $50. Now it's closer to $100. But whey is one of those products hit by Donald Trump's new 50% tariffs on Canadian exports. What he's upset about is our supply management system for dairy products. The rub is, because of the whey's popularity, the U.S. is out of it. And you only get more of the liquid if you make more cheese. That's where it comes from. Canada's cheese production, regulated by the supply management system, so big increase here is unlikely. And American producers who, will sell bulk cheese, their price that they get hasn't gone up in 2 years. And economics tells you if you're not getting a higher price, you're not, making more cheese in this case. So you have a whey shortage in the U.S., and it probably will continue for a while.
And finally, we've seen ads for sports betting. We know it's a huge problem, but how big is that industry now?
Well, sports betting, $7.5 billion in Canada to grow to $14 billion by 2023. If you include casinos and other places, could be a $13 billion industry. Worse in the States, $166 billion is the estimate, grossing up to about $300 billion. That's a ton of money to guess if the Blackhawks are going to meet the Jets in the middle of February. A way to look at it is in Canada, spectators spent something like $5 billion last year to go see a live sporting event. They spent 50% more to bet on those same matches. Scientists say sports betting appeals to the front part of the brain in younger people. That's because their frontal cortexes aren't as developed as they would be when you get older. As a result, they get more of a thrill, the immediacy of betting, and more of an emotional situation for them. It surprises me that 1 in 5 Canadians places a sports bet every day. It doesn't surprise me that 43% of all bettors between the ages of 18 and 34.
Thank you very much, Phil. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mercy.
That is our business news this morning, live with Phil DeMont. You're listening to CBC Radio. This is your morning show, Information Radio on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. I'm Marcy Marcusa, Corey and Abby and Darren behind the glass, Heather Wells in our news center. Corey's been picking up the commuter line. He heard from Ralph on the line. Good morning, Ralph. Ralph reporting lights are out at Sterling, Lyon and Waverley. And we also have an update now on the collision at the corner of westbound Portage and Wall Street. So emergency crews are now on scene. They are blocking every lane except for the far left lane on Portage. I'm presuming this is at Wall, not at Wall, with the lanes being blocked. So it's the Portage lanes blocked. So expect some backups there at that intersection. And of course, this is all because of the storm last night. We shouldn't attribute that, pardon me. We may have a problem because of the storm last night in that area because we do have the lights that are out completely at a number of different intersections. And so you can check the hydro map this morning to see where those outages persist, but we know there's at least 100 customers and perhaps more. Intersections that we know are out are Roblin and Dale, as well as Portage and Wall, Portage and Dominion, Grant and Shaftesbury, and Pembina and McGillivray. Those are the big ones, at least. So be careful out there this morning. It could come upon them really quick, and that's because they're not necessarily all in a row. Like you'll go through 3 green lights, then 2 of them will be out, and then you're back to green. So if you're looking too far ahead, you're going to go through an intersection. So we'll see when how Hydro will get around to getting everything restored, but there's a lot of things to catch up on. 6:46 is the time right now. And next on CBC, a lot of people are anxious about what's happening with WestJet. As you might have heard on the news, flight attendants could go on strike or be locked out by the company starting August 2nd. Today is a key deadline for the labor dispute. The groups need to provide 72 hours notice before going through with any job action. So yesterday, the airline and union came to an agreement to wind down operations over this long weekend as a precaution in the event that the negotiations fail. WestJet has not specifically yet announced any flight cancellations in connection with a potential labor dispute, but they are already offering to waive cancellation or change fees for passengers who are traveling between July 30th and August 4th, though throughout this long weekend. With more information, here's the CBC's Anis Heydari.
Essentially what WestJet and the union, CUPE in this case, have agreed to is a plan that looks more at how they would wind down their operations if a strike happens in ways that affect staff and equipment. You don't want to get like your plane stuck in, let's say, Tokyo if a strike or a lockout begins while it's in flight or while it's already there. You also need to have plans to make sure that any staff who are away from their home base and a strike and lockout begins, usually they would go home as a part of their work shift, right? You maybe start in Calgary and you end in Kamloops, and then you go back from Kamloops to Calgary to get back home as another shift. If you're locked out or you're on strike, that's not going to happen. Here's the thing. This sounds like it is an escalation in a labor dispute and in labor negotiations. It's not really an escalation. What it tells us is that they have not come to an agreement yet. They have a deadline that's looming, and so they want to make sure that they have a plan that they've mutually agreed to get everybody home and to get those planes out of the skies or away from foreign airports and back home should things not turn out the way that either side would like it to. Both sides have said they're still negotiating. They want to come to an agreement. They are not close to getting one from what we've heard, though. They are basically frustrated about what the union says is unpaid work. They have not been able to come to a settlement yet. The deadline for them to do that is August the 2nd before they can strike. The concept here is that when you fly for WestJet, you are paid a set amount of money for a set amount of what they call credit hours per flight. So if you are flying from Calgary to Toronto, that's a set amount of hours that you are paid for. But if your flight is delayed taking off, maybe it took half an hour to get all those passengers carry-on suitcases into the bins, you're not paid extra for that extra half an hour. WestJet's position is that they pay more per hour for those flights to make up for those hours that might be unpaid otherwise. The union says, no dice. We consider those hours to be unpaid. We want to be paid for them. That seems to be the spot where they're the furthest apart. We have heard that wages in general are also an issue, but the unpaid work issue is the big thing. WestJet says they're paid for those hours. The union has said they aren't. When that came to a real crux for Air Canada, though, it did end with a strike and then binding arbitration, and they are now paid for at least some of those hours.
So that is what we know to this hour. It's 11 minutes to 7 o'clock. We've been listening to CBC senior reporter Anis Heydari talking about WestJet. And just to reiterate here, we are now at the 72 hours notice before going through any job action. We'll see what happens through this weekend. WestJet has not announced yet any flight cancellations in connection with this potential labor dispute. They are waiving cancellation or offering rather to waive cancellation or change fees for passengers traveling between July 30th and August 4th. And I just want to reiterate that because obviously it's summertime heading into the long weekend and there may be a lot of people who have plans like that. So if you're with WestJet, you might want to check first.
You know the voices that tell the story of our province. Now you can take them anywhere. From the essential start to your day on information radio to the conversations that define our lunch hour on Radio Noon and the pulse of the city on Up to Speed, your local connection is always within reach. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Your favorite voices, your province, right in your pocket. Download the CBC News app today, your daily rhythm, live and local.
So we don't have heat warnings today, but it is still going to be hot. So take precaution. It's 25 right now in Winnipeg, a high of 29. Local smoke could be a possibility for us, and winds will be about 20 kilometers per hour. So they'll stay pretty light through the day. It will be cloudy for the remainder of the morning at least, and a 30% chance of showers, and then a mix of sun and cloud into this afternoon for Winnipeg. If you have plans heading into this long weekend, a lot of people end up taking tomorrow off. So tomorrow, sunny 28, sun and cloud in the afternoon. Saturday, sunny 29. On Sunday, 31 with sun. And on Monday, mix of sun and cloud and a high of 24, which sounds positively cool when you consider what kind of heat we've been through. So that's Winnipeg's forecast heading into August long weekend. You're listening to CBC, and next on the show, it is a question a lot of investors have on their minds. Is the AI bubble about to burst? A famous market watcher compared events from this week to what happened before the dot-com crash of 2000. Francis Sims covers tech for us, and he's on the line to break this down. Good morning. And we're just not hearing you, Francis. There
Good
you
morning.
are. Yeah, we got you there. Yeah. Thanks for being with us. So tell us about what I mentioned here. So it was CNBC's Jim Cramer drawing that connection I mentioned to the dot-com crash. What do you think of it?
Yeah, so what they're talking about is this deal that's happening between OpenAI and NVIDIA, where effectively NVIDIA will backstop OpenAI to get money. Effectively, NVIDIA or OpenAI builds data centers, and they use NVIDIA chips, right? Those are the chips that power these data centers, like the chips in your computer or your iPhone. They want to build this massive data center, $500 billion in Ohio, and they don't have enough credit to do it, so they effectively are getting NVIDIA to co-sign the mortgage to basically loan them that money so they can build this data center. And Jim Cramer and some other financial analysts say, well, that seems a little bit risky because now not only are you selling these people product, but you're taking this active stake. And if these companies don't do well, say OpenAI, that provides a big exposure to NVIDIA, and that's a big risk. And that's what he saw in the dot-com era. He was a trader in the 2000s. When a lot of these tech companies were basically loaning money to their customers to buy their product, and those customers went bankrupt, and the tech companies effectively did not do very well, and the stocks took years and years and years to recover. And upon this news, NVIDIA shares went down, I think, about 4%, as did the shares of other AI chip providers.
How big of a concern is it in your view when you look at this?
Yeah, so I think the thing is that these data centers, these companies have not been able to provide return on investment yet. So they keep borrowing money, they keep building because it's a race to being the first one to, create this super AI thing. The data centers get old. It's like buying your phone. 2 to 4 years later after you buy your phone, the battery starts to wear out. Maybe there's a crack in the screen. Maybe you can't load the latest apps anymore. So you might buy a new phone. What happens with that data center is $50 billion, or like the one in Alberta, $13 billion Meta AI data center. The investors are we're about 1 or 2 years into these big builds. In another couple of years, they're going to have to start upgrading these data centers again, and they're going to have to look for that money. And if they're not going to be providing return on investment, for the people that put their money in, that potentially could be a problem. And that's what people are thinking about in a couple of years.
Have they responded yet then? Has the industry said anything about either don't worry or here's a plan that we have for that risk to be mitigated?
Yeah, I think what they're saying is this is not just something that's happening in the United States. Like NVIDIA is investing in diversifying by investing in AI companies all around the world in a similar way. So their argument is that this is happening, this AI thing is happening, it's inevitable. And, from, say, NVIDIA's perspective, they're investing all around the world. So even if it isn't, say, OpenAI that wins and it's some company maybe in China, that they're going to benefit either way. So that's basically their response.
What would a correction like that, should it happen, mean for regular Canadians?
Yeah, so Canada Pension Plan, I think, has about $11 billion invested in NVIDIA. They've invested a couple of $1 billion already in data center build-outs and other AI-related projects. So even if you don't have a mutual fund or you don't have another investment or a pension, the CPP potentially could be impacted should NVIDIA suffer some sort of loss. A lot of people that have retirement pensions have invested heavily in tech stocks because they've made money in the last few years. So the recommendations from some of these people is that I'm not a finance person, but the next time you meet your financial planner, ask the question, should I think about diversifying? Because I don't think the thing is that, I'm not an expert. I don't think it's going to happen today. But if it happens in a year or two, well, maybe you want to start thinking about moving some of that around to de-risk it.
All good advice. Thank you very much, Francis.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
That is our technology columnist, Francis Sims, head of the School of Clean Energy and Associate Dean of ICT at Humber Polytechnic. It is now 4 minutes to 7 o'clock. Still ahead on the show, there's been another recent fatal motorcycle crash in Manitoba. We're going to hear from the chief instructor this morning for the motorcycle safety program in our province about why it can be daunting for a rider to admit their ability.
If you ask the average car driver, could they redo their driver's test, how many do you think would want to volunteer to do that? We all think that we're competent in what we're doing, and we don't really want to admit to our frailties.
So how do we make things safer on the road for everyone involved? We'll get that point of view and perspective. We'll also hear from some other motorcycle riders here who have weighed in. In addition, this morning, in the next hour of the show, a recent university grad is running across Canada to raise money for displaced children to be able to go to school. We're going to catch up with them about their bumpy journey so far and why the cause is so close to his heart. Let's get to Heather Wells now with other headlines.
Good morning. Well, the province is sending out pamphlets saying the government is lowering grocery prices. But a new report suggests the total price for essential groceries is actually rising. A lab at Dalhousie University found the combined price of 50 essential food items in Winnipeg increased from June to July. We're going to hear reaction to all of this coming up in our next news at 7:30. As well, students at Louis Riel College now have a dedicated space to learn. The educational affiliate of the Manitoba Métis Federation has been operating for more than a decade without a physical campus, but now it has set up shop in the MMF building on Main Street. We'll hear more in our next local news at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Mostly cloudy, 25 in Winnipeg, high 29. We had a storm last night. I probably don't have to tell you that. You're going to see branches down. We had thunder and lightning, and now we have traffic issues and light standards down. We also have about 100 plus people without power still this morning, and that may be more if you look outside of Winnipeg, of course. But you can check Hydro's map for the outages. We can tell you some of the big intersections out. Roblin and Dale, Portage and Wall, Portage Dominion, Grant and Shaftesbury, and Pembina and McGillivray all blacked out, no lights. Simon and Ralph both called. They said lights are also out at Sterling, Lyon, and Waverley, which is a big intersection. And then westbound Portage and Wall, there's been a collision. Emergency crews remain on scene. If you have any updates to any of this, please call us on the commuter line, 788-3093, as we get into a morning that could be a little bit slower. So as Corey mentioned earlier, just be patient with Hydro as they work to get everything back up. And let us know if there's anything else to add to the list. Stay with CBC. Coming up at 7 o'clock, it's World Report, national and international news on your Thursday morning.
On the Current. I'm Rebecca Zanbergen. It's that part of the summer holidays where kids might be getting bored, but more of them are turning to screens instead of books to entertain themselves.
When's the last time you read a book for pleasure?
In March of 2025. I know most of my friends don't really read.
How to turn this around and what the effects might be coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. The union representing some WestJet flight attendants has issued a 72-hour strike notice. It means that if a deal is not reached, workers could be on the picket lines as early as Sunday. Chien Desjardins is following the story. And Chien, what is the latest?
So much of this breaking overnight and right before what's a busy summer long weekend in many provinces. So the union represents 4,400 flight attendants at WestJet. And like you mentioned, this 72-hour strike notice means a strike could begin as soon as Sunday if the two sides don't reach a deal. So the union says one of the key issues is flight attendants not being paid for certain things like ground duties. Now, the airline responded by issuing a 72-hour lockout notice, warning warning that some flights could be grounded by tomorrow. But the two sides are still actively negotiating to reach a deal.
What does this mean for passengers?
Well, WestJet says it operates more than 600 flights per day, on some days carrying more than 70,000 passengers. So if this strike does happen, it'll potentially be felt by many travelers. This is a big airline, Canada's second largest. Now, that being said, WestJet has been allowing passengers with flights scheduled between now and August 4th to make a one-time change or cancel with no fee, and says should flight delays or cancellations occur, impacted people will be refunded or reaccommodated, quote, as applicable.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The CBC's Chien Desjardins. CBC News has uncovered the identity of the Canadian woman arrested in Belgium last week on espionage charges. She was an intern at NATO's military headquarters. Belgian courts do not publicly identify defendants in criminal investigations until the trial, but our exclusive investigation was able to narrow down the suspect by going to social media and Canadian court filings. Jonathan Gatehouse has the details.
Biwei Zhang. She also goes by Claire and Katina. She's in her 30s and is fluent in English, French, and Mandarin. And a CBC News investigation has determined that she's the Canadian intern accused of spying at NATO's military headquarters. She's built an impressive resume over the past decade, working at high-profile spots like the World Trade Organization in Switzerland and the European Space Agency in Italy. She's also worked for the Canadian Space Agency as a systems engineer in the Satellite Operations Department. And before that, as an economist with Stats Canada. CBC News was able to identify Zhang, unearthing her CV, academic writings, and various social media profiles. The charges have not yet been tested in court, and Zhang remains in custody.
SHAPE at NATO is a coveted spot.
Dan Stanton is a former CSIS intelligence officer.
Most of the biggest secrets in espionage aren't as a result of stealing files or accessing databanks. It's conversations. It's hearing things. Who do you know?
Even an internship at NATO requires a comprehensive security clearance, a months-long background check that would have fallen to the RCMP and CSIS since Zhang is Canadian. But CBC News has uncovered something that may have been overlooked. A Federal Court of Canada ruling. Back in 2019, Zhang applied for a job with the CBSA, submitting 2 forms under slightly different names. The Public Service Commission determined that was fraud, a decision upheld by a judicial review last summer. Jonathan Gatehouse, CBC News, Toronto.
Australia's online watchdog is taking Telegram to court. The messaging platform is being accused of failing to remove terrorism-related content. The watchdog is seeking more than $50 million in penalties. Julie Inman-Grant is Australia's e-safety commissioner.
This case concerns content linked to some of the most notorious acts of known extremist violence in recent history, including depicting the Christchurch and Buffalo attacks used for propaganda and for radicalization.
The Australian regulator alleges that Telegram kept this material online even after users complained. Telegram says it rejects the allegations and will contest them in court. 2 children are among 8 people killed in a wave of Russian attacks across Ukraine. The barrage came hours after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned that Russia was preparing a massive onslaught. Julia Chapman reports from London.
Ukraine knew this attack was coming, but air defenses couldn't intercept the dozens of missiles and hundreds of drones Russia launched overnight. The president's hometown, Kryvyi Rih, was among the worst hit. There, emergency responders worked to clear the rubble this morning. Officials say a ballistic missile struck a family home, killing 6 people and injuring 8 more. People are still trapped in the wreckage. Kyiv and Poltava also each reported 1 fatality. In Lviv, rescuers pulled a young boy from a residential building, which was attacked while he slept. He is among at least 20 people injured in the strike. The city's mayor says homes, kindergartens, and a school are damaged. A missile also landed across the border in Poland. Prime Minister Donald Tusk says it appears to be Russian and fell in an uninhabited area. Sviatoslav Jurash is a member of Ukraine's parliament.
That was the Russian response to the success we had with the American negotiations, I imagine.
President Volodymyr Zelensky had a fruitful visit to Washington earlier this week. He says the Trump administration confirmed Ukraine will be allowed to produce Patriot missiles. The interceptors have been vital to Ukraine's defense, but they are in short supply. Meanwhile, in Russia, 2 fires broke out at warehouses owned by e-commerce company Wildberries. Local officials blamed the blazes on Ukrainian drone attacks. Julia Chapman, CBC News, London.
In southwestern Turkey, a tender moment caught on camera with a firefighter giving a cat water out of a water bottle. A wildfire is burning nearby, and the heat is extreme. Hundreds of tourists in the resort city of Antalya have been forced to leave, and many more have had to abandon their homes. Firefighters in western Spain rushed towards the flames. It is one of the many countries struggling to contain wildfires during a heat wave. 3 Greek firefighters have died tackling fires on the island of Crete. There are some signs of progress in France. There, authorities are allowing more than 80,000 evacuees back to their homes. Extreme weather stopped hikers in their tracks on BC's famous West Coast Trail. Heavy rain, waist-deep mud, and swollen rivers were impassable. These are unusual conditions for the area, and as Claire Palmer reports, more than 70 hikers were evacuated from the trail this season.
The rain was pouring like crazy.
Sienna Haig is sitting at a cafe in Bamfield, BC, a small village at the West Coast Trailhead on Vancouver Island. She's drying off with her family, who came from Germany to hike the trail. It's a bucket list hike spanning a demanding 75 kilometers. It typically takes about 7 days to complete. But just 4 days into their journey, Sienna, her partner Robinson, and his parents had to make their exit.
The river was too high to cross. I got wet up to the hip almost.
More than 70 hikers were forced to abandon their journey this week due to heavy rain and swollen rivers. Still, some hikers aren't giving up. Sam Trigger and Adam Halko spent days driving from Calgary.
And we got like 2 more days worth of food than we plan on using. If we have to turn back, like that's going to be okay.
With more rain in the weekend forecast, Parks Canada says they'll keep hikers posted on trail conditions and recommends hikers delay or cancel their trip. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Bamfield, British Columbia.
Some say it is the most beautiful ship in the world. The Italian tall ship Amerigo Vespucci is docked now in Montreal. It is named after an Italian explorer from the 1500s. This is the last stop on its North American tour, and as Gloria Enriquez reports, Montrealers are being welcomed aboard to take a look.
It's a sailboat, very magnifico.
Denise Desrochers drove half an hour from Saint-Bruno-de-Montarville in Quebec to the port of Montreal's Grand Quai to see the Amerigo Vespucci in all its glory. The wooden vessel, built in 1931, features 4 masts with thick ropes streaming down and a giant green, white, and red flag waving off the stern. The Vespucci is used as a training ship for the Italian Navy. Julien Baudry is with the Montreal Port Authority. He says the Vespucci is arriving at the perfect time.
At a moment where Canada wants to diversify, when we get that type of ship coming at the Port of Montreal, we are developing close ties.
Baudry says Italy is the Port of Montreal's 3rd largest trading partner and has a long history of welcoming Italian immigrants. Gloria Enriquez, CBC News, Montreal.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, a storm last night over Manitoba is causing some problems with power outages and in traffic as well. We'll have the full rundown in a moment, especially from here in Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. And that's where I'm sitting, in downtown Winnipeg in our CBC studio on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube, where you might be watching this hour on the program. Beyond storm coverage, another recent fatal motorcycle crash in our province is raising questions about safety and training. We have the chief instructor of the motorcycle training program in Manitoba here to talk about what he's seeing and hearing and how the training could potentially be improved. So stay tuned. Also this hour in the show, a 22-year-old who's battling extreme heat and wildfire smoke as he runs across the country will share with us why he's decided to undergo this intense journey across Canada. And then later, do you have a mole on your body you're concerned about? The Mole Mobile is coming to Manitoba. We're going to hear more about the traveling clinic that's bringing access to skin cancer screenings across the country. Let's go to Heather Wells now, though. We've all been trying to stay on top of this storm last night and more. So she's here with our headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, that storm may have woken you up last night, and you're still going to feel the impacts of it this morning. Hundreds of hydro customers across Winnipeg and surrounding areas are without power. You'll see leaves and branches scattered across streets and sidewalks, and some traffic and streetlights are also out. Winnipeg police say they stepped in overnight to respond to issues related to the storm. We're going to hear the very latest from Manitoba Hydro coming up. As well, a veterans housing project announced 4 years ago is finally poised to put shovels in the ground. The Homes for Heroes Foundation held a sod turning ceremony at the site in Transcona. We'll speak to a veteran coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right, let's go to weather. Abby.
Yeah, we're looking at another warm and humid day across the province. Winnipeg, we're waking up close to 26 degrees already. There's a few chance of showers in the forecast, and the afternoon high is going to be reaching 29, feeling like 38, and that's the condition across southern Manitoba today.
Corey.
Here's my growing list of intersections that are out completely right now. Portage and Wall, Portage and Dominion, Roblin and Dale, Grant and Shaftesbury, Jubilee and Pembina, Jubilee and Coburn, Sargent and St. James, according to some callers. Lights that are back on that we reported earlier is out. Pembina and McGillivray are back on. Sterling Line and Waverley back on, according to Heather, who called the commuter line. And lights that are flashing red right now, La Jamodière and Cottonwood. Would love to get some updates. Feel free to give me a call. Let me know what you're seeing out there because of this power outage. This is all across the city and in southern Manitoba as well. 204-788-3093.
Well, as I mentioned, another Manitoba motorcyclist died over the weekend. RCMP say a 61-year-old man from Marchand, Manitoba, which is about 67 southeast of our city, was driving south on Highway 210 near Highway 404 when the crash happened. Investigators believe the rider lost control while rounding a corner and went into a ditch, though the investigation is still ongoing. In the bigger picture in Manitoba, this is the 8th motorcycle-related death so far this year. Earlier this month, we had Mary Johnson on, president of the Coalition of Manitoba Motorcycle Groups. That followed another fatal crash, a 56-year-old woman from Steinbach. We asked her what she wanted to see more of.
CMMG has been lobbying for rider training or refresher courses. There is a course that's available through Safety Services Manitoba for riders for upgrading their skills, but it's costly, and a lot of riders that are already riding don't tend to see the need for it, or maybe they think if they go take it they may fail. I don't know, but we are pushing to have that extra course there available for people who want to take it, and just on that to have some incentive to take it. So say I've been riding now for 25 years. It seems like yesterday I started, but for me to go and take that course what's the incentive? I'm riding fine now. I haven't had an accident for 24 years, so what's my incentive to take it?
David Remington is the chief motorcycle instructor for the motorcycle safety program at Safety Services Manitoba. We spoke yesterday after the show.
Thank you for having me.
I saw you sort of having a knowing look when Mary was talking there about a refresher course versus something else, and where riders might have sort of hesitations to sign up. What are your thoughts on what she had to say?
I don't disagree with what she says. The intimidation factor is there, especially if there's a cost to the course. Also, I think that when it comes to taking a course like that, people want to feel that there's no judgment when they walk into it. They want to feel that it is a true refresher. They can walk in, they can learn a few new skills, and it's a little bit less of a pressurized atmosphere. And I think that would be the key to make something like that work, where people felt they could come in and they're among friends.
So there's a couple things to tease out there. One of them is a refresher course versus a mandatory course.
Right.
And you were talking about people feeling pressured. Would the pressure be like what's at stake if you fail a course? Or tell me more what you mean by that.
Well, nobody likes to fail in public. That's when you're trying something you maybe haven't practiced for a long time, and especially if you're doing it on your own machine, there is a chance that, let's say, a slow speed maneuver, you are going to tip over a machine, and nobody wants to do that in public, and that's a bit of a challenge. So when we do the advanced riders course, the first part of that course actually is the instructors working with the students to see what their competency level is coming into the course, and it kind of gives us an idea also to what we can bring to the table. Okay, what things can we challenge on them to the students, or which things do we need to brush up on, such as clutch control and slow speed maneuvers.
If there were a mandatory course that people had to take at a certain age, or maybe if they had if that were the cutoff, I'm not even going to name an age, how do you think that would be received?
I think negatively. I think that I think there's better ways to do that. I think that making it a mandatory course, I can imagine yourself as a car driver. If, let's say, at 55 you had to retake your driver's license, most people would not want to do that. Most people, when they come through the motorcycle course, in many cases, especially if they're an older rider, we ask them some of the questions about the rules of the road, and most of us took a road test a long time ago. If they have children who are in driver's ed, they've probably brushed up on those things, but things have changed, such as following distance and also the rules as to where you stop and merges and things along those lines.
Someone might hear that though and say that's a reason to have something be mandatory, because if it's about safety, then we want to make sure people are brushing up.
Yeah, there is an argument there. There is an argument. I think though, really what I'd like to see, and really when we look at the course that we teach, the course is centered around it's skills-based versus rules of the road, because we want to make sure that the riders have the ability to handle the machine. They understand the challenges ahead of them when they're going to be riding in traffic. And what we also encourage them to review the rules of the road and look again at go to MPI's site, for instance, and look at their road tests that they have, or the written tests that they have on their website.
You were talking about it, the possibility of being daunting for a rider, especially if they're an older rider, maybe to go back through a course, mandatory or not now, just to go back through a course. What would lessen that feeling maybe? Like, how could that messaging shift to get more people back in to refresh their skills?
That's a tough one off the cuff.
Like, do group learnings work, or is it individual testing, or do you have an idea of what people might like?
Smaller groups, I think. One of the things too that may lessen that once again is if they come and they take one of our courses where they use one of our course bikes. One of the big intimidations that goes away is the weight of the machine. Our course bikes weigh about 273 pounds. If their daily ride is a motorcycle that weighs 700, 800 pounds, the weight of that machine goes away. Now they start to realize, okay, I can do these maneuvers. I can learn how to use the clutch a little bit differently than I have been using it. And then they can go back and apply that to their machine. Or maybe part of the course can be on our machine and the other part of it could be on their machine, where they apply what they've learned at the first part of the course.
So tailored in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about when you hear that number? Obviously, it's a sad number, but beyond the emotional feeling that there have been 8 motorcycle deaths in our province in 2026 so far.
Oh, it's sobering. There's no two ways about it. Whenever we hear about a motorcycle death or a serious accident on a machine, it really hits home, because all our instructors love teaching the course. We meet so many wonderful people teaching the course. We have a lot of fun teaching it. But when you look in their faces, you think to yourself, did I teach them enough? And if you hear about one of those students having an incident, then you realize that person didn't go home that day. And so it's always very sobering. We had one of our own instructors killed in a road collision last year. And one of our chief instructors, one of our best riders, in fact. And that hit a lot of us hard. That was one of those situations where, we all re-examined our own riding skills. We looked at it and we said, well, he did everything right, but the outcome was still negative. But, it's we get as a motorcyclist, you need to be self-critical. You need to say, okay, this is how I'm riding today. This is maybe something I need to brush up on. And we encourage the students to do that as well as they go along in their riding career. If you're finding the bike is getting too hard to manage, maybe it's time to change your machine, get something a little bit lighter, something you're more comfortable on, and brush up on your skills a little bit.
Do you think people sometimes don't realize their limitations when it comes to riding, or they don't, maybe put it top of mind? Like you said, maybe I need a different kind of bike.
Yes, and the thing with it too is, of course, as the years go on, things creep around us. Myself, I'm 60 years old, and my one bike weighs 800 pounds. Well, when it goes over, it is a very heavy lift. And now all of a sudden, I'm not as strong as I was when I was 50 or when I was 40. And so there are ways and techniques to do that, but that's something that everyone should consider. If you're out by yourself riding somewhere and you just happen your foot slides in the sand and the bike goes over, can you pick it up?
Mm-hmm.
And so
I would have never thought about that, but I mean, it makes complete sense when you're saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It's we're not as young as we think we are.
Well, when it does come to age or population, what does the motorcycling population in Manitoba look like? Have you noticed any change over the years about who's on bikes?
Certainly, we've seen, especially after COVID hit, there were a lot of people getting into the sport because it was a great opportunity to get out, get into the fresh air, and meet new people. We see a lot of people who are moving to retirement years, and they're looking, what am I going to do in my retirement? Oh, all my buddies have bikes, and they're all going to go ride down to Arizona, or they're going to do that. And so we see an influx of those people getting into the sport a little bit later in life. And they face challenges because it's always harder for us to learn new skills as we get older. We're not the 12-year-old that picks things up right away. We're all of a sudden now we learn at about half the rate of one of the younger riders.
Yeah, you don't retain it in the same way as you age.
Oh, yes.
What are the changes you might like to see when it comes to motorcycle safety in terms of something that you think might be missing or improved?
Well, certainly one of the things that I have seen over the past few years, I see more riders wearing gear, which is excellent. And we always encourage the new riders to go out to the bike shops, meet the people at the bike shops, get to know them, try on some gear at the bike shop, and get some good gear so that when you do make a mistake, as every new rider does, you've got at least that layer of protection.
Do you think that it's that we have enough conversations like this? Because you don't want to steer people away from getting into motorcycling at any age. But on the other hand, sometimes we do tend to only talk about it, at least media-wise, when there are fatalities. Should we be talking more about safety all the time?
Certainly, it's important that we keep it on the horizon because we often only talk about fatalities. And as a young rider, I was 26 at the time. I remember seeing a special, and it may have actually been on CBC television way back when. So I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was. But it followed the aftermath of 4 motorcycle collisions and what happened to the riders after that. And that was the first time I realized that there was something worse than getting killed. And the rehabilitation of these riders, and 2 of them were severely brain damaged. One made a full recovery, and one, I believe, didn't recover at all. But that was a very sobering event for me as a young rider because we often think that it's either going to go one way or the other. Either you're going to come through with a few scratches or, heaven forbid, you don't. But we never hear about the riders, about the incidents where riders come out of the other end of it and they're debilitated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we don't think enough about that when it comes to choosing gear and whether or not we need to brush up on our skills, because that's something that gets lost in the shuffle, and it's a very important thing to talk about.
Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate having your time and expertise with us on the subject.
Thank you.
David Remington, I spoke with him yesterday after the show. He's the chief motorcycle instructor for the motorcycle safety program at Safety Services Manitoba. 7:25 a.m. the time right now. It's hot. It was stormy overnight. Power outages continued this morning and some problems in traffic because of it with lights out. Heather will have the latest of what we know. We did talk to Hydro briefly, so we're going to have the latest at 7:30. It's 23 degrees right now. It's mostly cloudy, and today our high is 29. It's time for morning sports. Scott Regehr is joining us next on the show. Hey, Scott.
Good morning, Marcy.
So the Bombers hosting BC tonight. They're going to be facing a quarterback making his first start in the league.
Right, that's Caden Salter. With BC's regular starter Nathan Rourke out hurt and their second stringer Chase Bryce pretty ineffective, Salter's getting the call tonight, Marcy. He played part of BC's last game last weekend against Toronto and in limited action looked pretty impressive. Threw for over 120 yards and showed great scrambling ability. He also has the faith of BC head coach Buck Pierce, who used to be, of course, the Bombers' offensive coordinator. Winnipeg head coach Mike O'Shea was asked whether he'll be strategizing tonight against Pierce.
With Buck, he was very good at his job, so I left him alone. So I wouldn't say that I'm responsible for strategizing against Buck Pierce, right? The coordinators put in the systems, put in the game plan, the players execute it. When it comes to decision-making in games, do I have a feel for what he might do? Maybe, but that's just the flow of the game, right?
So Mike O'Shea and the Bombers looking to get back on the winning track tonight after a bad loss to Calgary last weekend. I like their chances on this basis. Winnipeg's defensive front leads the league with 15 sacks. I expect Willie Jefferson and company will be chasing the aforementioned Caden Salter all around the field tonight. Kickoff is at 7:30.
The man's a machine, Jefferson. To Commonwealth Games now, track and field's front and center.
Yes, the decathlon specifically. This is an event, of course, whose winner is widely regarded as the best athlete on the planet. And Canadian Damian Warner, despite his advanced age, believes he has a rightful claim to that title. An Olympic champion in Tokyo, Warner failed to defend his gold in Paris when he no-heighted in the pole vault. Now he's got his sights set on Los Angeles, and in a feature for CBC Sports, Marcy, Damian says a strong performance at these Commonwealth Games is well within his grasp.
Most people aren't able to compete when they're 36 years old and compete at a high level. I believe that when I go into a competition and I'm healthy, I can compete with anybody in the world. I don't think that I've accomplished everything that I can on the track. I think that I could still score higher than I've ever scored. A long time ago, I set out to try to put the perfect decathlon together, and 16 years later, I feel like I haven't been close. So hopefully, when it's all said and done, I can say, you know what? This was the perfect decathlon.
And Warner's off to a pretty good start this morning, Marcy. He beat all of his competitors in the 100 meters, and his time was only 9/100ths of a second behind his best ever in the race, which he set at the Tokyo Olympics. After the long jump, Damian's still in the lead, and they're in the midst of the shot put right now, with the high jump and 400 meters yet to come today. Warner will contest the other half of his events tomorrow, including the dreaded pole vault. Meanwhile, Canada remains in second place in the standings, trailing only Australia in gold medals won.
And let's finish with baseball, where Blue Jays pitchers are speaking out loud and clear.
One with his arm and another with his mouth. On the mound, Trey Savage made it into the seventh inning yesterday, allowing just one run in a win over Washington. Savage, Marcy, along with the ace of the staff, Dylan Cease, is a cornerstone of a team whose pitchers are very much in flux. With the Jays unlikely to make the playoffs, Shane Bieber, Max Scherzer, and Kevin Gausman, they're all available before the trade deadline, although Gausman said he's been very vocal about wanting to stay in Toronto. He spoke on the Toronto Star podcast this week, though, and he says this season's team is nowhere near as close as last year's, which were dubbed the Glue Jays.
Listen, it's not anybody's fault. I don't think we necessarily have the characters that we've had in the past. I think losing Bass was a little bit bigger of a loss than we all thought it would be. I think it more so has to do with just everybody feeling frustrated. Those times last year where, we kind of wanted to be around each other, maybe that's not the case. And I can say I still love every single one of these guys, but they might not feel the same way about me.
Kevin Gausman calling it as he sees it, something too few in the sport do. Jays are off today. Winnipeg Goldeyes victorious yesterday over Kansas City. They're on a 5-game heater.
All right. Thanks very much, Scott.
You betcha.
Scott Regehr with Live Morning Sports. Let's get the latest on the storms over Manitoba and Winnipeg last night from your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it is 25 degrees. We're going to see a mix of sun and clouds in Winnipeg today. Local smoke in the air, and that wind is going to switch direction, southwest becoming northwest around noon. A high of 29 with the humidex still a factor of 38. Well, it is the powerless after the storm. 30,000 hydro customers are without power this morning. Wicked thunderstorms last night have scattered leaves and branches across the city of Winnipeg. Manitoba Hydro's Peter Chura says most outages are in the western and southern parts of Winnipeg, but areas around Portage-la Prairie were hit hard as well.
Most of the outages are in the city of Winnipeg. It's starting in central Winnipeg and radiating outwards. Right now, what we're doing is we're assessing and making safe as many of the outages as we can. That'll also help us to identify areas where we can restore the most customers at one time.
Insurer says with so many outages, it's not clear when power will be restored. He says the most important thing right now is safety. He asks people to stay away from any downed power lines and call Manitoba Hydro if you see any. The province is sending out pamphlets saying the government is lowering grocery prices, but a new report suggests the total price for essential groceries is actually rising. A lab at Dalhousie University found the combined price of 50 essential food items in Winnipeg increased from June to July. Gail Wolfram is one shopper frustrated by the rising price of groceries. She likes that the province removed the PST on some foods in July, but questions whether it's working.
It helps you not pay the tax on them, which obviously does help, but the actual prices are still going up way too much, and your stores are gouging. And I don't know what any government can do about that.
The government mailer points to this month's elimination of the PST as one way it's helping to lower grocery prices. Opposition PC leader Abhi Khan says shoppers haven't noticed any savings because grocery bills keep climbing. The Union for 4,400 WestJet flight attendants has issued a 72-hour strike notice. The airline is responding with a lockout notice and warns flights could be grounded by tomorrow. If no deal is reached, the attendants could walk off the job in the middle of the upcoming holiday long weekend. Flight attendants have been without a contract at WestJet since the end of last year. Pay is the main issue. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. The death of a dog rescue volunteer has led 18 animal welfare organizations to call on governments to do more to mitigate dog overpopulation. Amanda Nobis died earlier this month at Sandy Bay Ojibwe First Nation. An autopsy suggests she was killed by dogs. The Winnipeg Humane Society and other groups have asked all three levels of government to better fund and coordinate efforts to help dogs. Katie Powell organized a rally yesterday to honor Nobis.
This is not a new problem. This has been ongoing for many years, and we've been trying to sound the alarms, not only from an animal welfare point of view, but also from a public health and safety view, that us alone as volunteers, as rescue organizations, can do by themselves.
Powell says the biggest priority is supporting First Nations to care for dogs in the manner of their choosing. A veterans housing project announced 4 years ago is finally poised to put shovels in the ground. The Homes for Heroes Foundation held a sod turning at the site in Transcona yesterday. Many veterans, including Randall Trenholm, were on hand. Trenholm says the transitional housing project will especially help veterans struggling to enter into civilian life after their service.
It is difficult to find gainful employment. You have your experiences, your training, and it doesn't seem to transition over into the civilian world as much.
The foundation expects to start construction once they receive remaining permits in the coming days. The village, which will offer additional resources for veterans, is now expected to open in the spring of 2027. A farmer in southeast Manitoba says he lost about 20% of his crops because of wet conditions earlier this year. Vern Johnson farms in the arm of Springfield. He wants to salvage what's left.
There was more applied because of the humidity and the moisture and everything that breeds disease, which is why we spray fungicide. Some fields, however, too, were actually just not sprayed because they were so bad. They were just too drowned out to warrant an application of fungicide.
Reg Friesen runs Prairie Sky, a crop dusting company near Niverville. He tells CBC he is seeing more farmers turning to spraying this year because of hot, humid weather. And he says he has been busier than usual as many fields are too wet to access with the ground equipment. A new college campus has officially opened its doors in Winnipeg. Louis Riel College has been operating for more than a decade without a dedicated campus. Now, that all changes with the opening of its new downtown campus in the Manitoba Métis Federation building on Main Street. Joanne Remillard is the MMF's Minister of Provincial Education.
We just look forward to our citizens and students coming to learn, to be part of our community, actually helping their families.
The college offers diplomas for healthcare aides, Indigenous-focused early childhood education, and business accounting. It's also working to develop an Indigenous-focused program in practical nursing. You can find more Manitoba news on our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Just to reiterate Heather's top story, we did finally get the numbers here. Hydro provided us with the numbers. 30,000 customers with outages due to last night's storm extending across a lot of Winnipeg, west and south especially, and even in Portage la Prairie. So we'll have more from our news department throughout the morning. So be patient. That's a lot of folks that need power restored, and it's also affecting some traffic spots, which Corey will talk about in a minute. Abby's here with our regional forecast first. It's a hot day, but without heat warning.
No heat warnings across the regions today, but it's still going to be another humid one across both after the events we saw overnight. For the city, we're looking at temperatures between 22 and 26 at this time. Some cloudy conditions outside. We may spot a few morning showers, all possible, maybe some thunderstorms to come with that. But it's more about a mix of sun and clouds today, with temperatures warming to 29 in the city, and the humidex values would be around 38. You cross into the Pembina Valley region. Morden is at 21, Brandon is at 19, Dauphin at 16, Gimli at 21. We're all seeing a bit of cloudy conditions in these areas, but it's more about sunshine and highs close to 30 degrees. While in the north central region, we're looking at 19 degrees. Sunny conditions there. Norway House is also at 19, but cloudy there. We see a mix of sun and clouds later in the day. Highs for that region, we get close to 27. When we go far north, we're talking about Thompson seeing sunny conditions at 14. Lynn Lake is at 17. Gillam at 16. Tudela Lake at 15. And Churchill seeing foggy conditions at 12 degrees at this time. And we'll see highs for that part of the province 15 to 23, with scattered showers spotted in some areas later. But for Winnipeg right now, after the storms overnight, we're seeing temperatures around 25 at this time.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey, let's talk about traffic.
Yes, here's my list that I've heard from folks of intersections that are completely out right now. Portage and Wall, Portage and Dominion, Roblin and Dale, Grant and Shaftesbury, Jubilee and Pembina, Jubilee and Coburn, Sargent and St. James, Pembina, right when you're entering St. Norbert there, Roblin and Moray, Hari and Grant, and Academy and Wellington. That's all the people who, from people who have phoned in to tell us about those intersections that may have changed, obviously, but look out for that. Also, the lights are flashing red, La Jamodiere and Cottonwood. There's also construction northbound Kiniston and Cordon in the left turn and median lane. There's a collision at Portage and Wall, blocking it's westbound Portage and Wall, blocking almost every intersection except for the far left one. So that's going to cause some disruptions for you this morning. Also got a call about an illegally parked car westbound Jubilee in the 800 block or so. If you have any other updates for me about lights that are out or back on, would love to help your listeners stay informed on that. You can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Corey.
Yeah, thanks.
And thanks to everyone calling. Yeah, I was going to say.
Shout out to Chris, James, Adam, Richard, Heather, lots of people calling in.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
788-3093 if you want to join the list and help us update the commute. Well, next on the show, here's someone who's been commuting. Between the hot temperatures and wildfire smoke plaguing the country, it's been a tough summer for a lot of Canadians. One 22-year-old from Oakville, Ontario, though, didn't cancel what his plans were. He's been running dozens of kilometers each and every day. He's in the middle of a journey to cross Canada by foot. James Newman is his name. He's running from St. John's, Newfoundland to Victoria, BC, raising money to fund scholarships scholarships for kids who've been displaced in childhood. Now, he's on day 73. He is right now just outside, we understand, the perimeter of Winnipeg, and I can see him there outside. Hi there, James.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. What an interesting cause you're raising money for to fund scholarships. You have a personal connection here. Tell us, why you chose to do this personally.
Yeah, started a while ago. My parents passed when I was younger, and I just graduated university, and I've started really feeling like I've become a lot more independent, and I've been able to look back and really be proud and happy of the friends I've made and of um, more or less the person I've been able to become. And now that I just graduated, I'm able to look back and be like super grateful for all those people who've been there to help me, to help raise me. And so I just wanted to give that back. I wanted to pay it forward, and I couldn't imagine what my life would be like without, going to university and pursuing my dream career or everything else that comes with university, like meeting friends, learning about yourself, trying things. So I wanted to make sure that kids who are like in my situation could have that chance.
I love that. You graduated McGill. Just as a small short aside, tell me a little bit about what your future career is in.
So I'm going to study robotics for my master's.
Awesome.
Yeah, I studied at McGill. I studied AI and physics and things, and I'm really, really happy with that.
So we understand the cause you're raising money for, but what kind of scholarships are you raising money for? Tell me how that money will pay it forward, as you put it.
Of course, yeah. So it's with the Children's Aid Foundation, and the account that we've set up with the Children's Aid Foundation is such that the money donated will be invested, and that money will be given out continuously. So the investment will have annual returns, and it will become renewable scholarships for kids in need, kids who are at risk, who've been orphaned, and any money donated won't just help one kid, one scholarship. It's going to help kids forever, generations, and any money donated will forever be doing that. So it motivates me when days get tough, and it keeps me going.
Let's talk about days getting tough here. We're watching on our YouTube stream right now. You can see the heat in the video. It's almost hazy, and you're running along. The shirt's off. You're just keeping your pace. You are now over halfway to your destination. As we mentioned, you're just sitting on the side of the highway here in a safe spot, but just at the outside of Winnipeg in the perimeter. What's it been like for you? I mean, what an extreme summer you've had to run in weather-wise.
Yeah, the weather's been crazy because Canada is it's a big country, obviously, but now that I'm running it almost seems like unbelievably big. On the west coast the east coast from where I started, Newfoundland had all these these hills that I didn't expect, and it was very wet and it was raining. And then now that I'm in central Canada, it's, as you guys know, in Manitoba, it's hot here. Holy crap, it's hot here. And I'm sorry, there's a little train in the background.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's been a heck of a summer, and we've had injuries. Had to go to the hospital a couple times, but we haven't stopped.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, you're just breaking up a touch. I know you mentioned injuries. You had a tendon, you became immobile, you had a blister starting to form in your heel, you got an infection. I mean, you really have had to go through it, not just with the weather, but with the body, which is incredible. You've been blogging. That's why we all know about your journey along the way, and describe some of this. What's the response been like from the people on the journey?
It's been awesome. It's been motivating just to have people come out, say hi, appreciate what I'm like, say they appreciate what I'm doing. And there's been kids who've reached out, and I've had the chance to visit charities along the way as well to learn about it more and connect. That's really all I want to do with this message. Is I just want to tell kids that, like, if you're not in a great spot, it's always possible to come out of it and to pursue your dreams and to still do something. It's never over. And just like how in this run I faced like internal bleeding, infections, like I couldn't lift my foot at one time because of an injury. Like it's easy to think it's never going to get better, especially when you're young and in a hard spot and whatnot. But there's always tomorrow, and I just wanted to get that message out.
It's a beautiful message. Thank you so much for joining us, James. We're going to play your song of the day. You've been sharing a song of the day. This was yesterday's Peanut Butter Jelly from Galantis. Good luck with the rest of your run, and thank you very much for sharing your story.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. That is James Newman running across the country to raise money for scholarships for kids who've been displaced in childhood. That is Peanut Butter Jelly. Fun song, right? It's from Galantis. That's from James Newman. You can find his song of the day and a quote of the day on his site if you want to follow along his run across Canada. He's just outside Winnipeg right now. JamesRunsCanada.com is where you can follow his progress. I understand here in Manitoba, when he got here, somebody that he interacted with gave him some kind of an ice thing to wear around his neck to try to help him with our intense prairie heat. It sure has been thrown at us this year. 12 minutes to 8 o'clock. Now, speaking of which, because of the heat, we had the storm last night, which developed over Winnipeg and over a lot of actually the province, a little bit outside Winnipeg as well. So it led to thunder and lightning. There's tree branches down. There's power outages. 30,000 customers are affected. As our news department discovered, hydro outages expand across much of west and southern Winnipeg neighborhoods, as well as into Portage La Prairie. When it comes to your commute, we've been getting calls, and the most recent ones from Naomi, Jagmeet, and Julie and Nicole about some intersections out now to add to the list we've been looking at. Waverly and Wilkes, Pembina and Plaza, Pembina and Abinogi-Mikina, and every intersection on West Portage from Unicity to the perimeter is out, as well as Portage and Wall and Portage and Dominion also still out. So all over the city, you're just going to want to be careful, especially in the south and west areas. But check with Hydro before. There's a map, of course, that you can access through Hydro to see about power outages and when restoration, the schedule for restoring power everywhere. It is 11 minutes now to 8 o'clock on 89.3 FM. And speaking of the heat, a lot of us start to think about how to protect ourselves from that sunshine. And a lot of us have on our bodies moles that we might be concerned about. now you don't need to make an appointment to get one checked out. The Mole-Mobile is making its way to Manitoba. You can get it checked out for free. Board-certified dermatologists volunteer their time for the Mole-Mobile to provide free screenings and education. Melanoma Canada started this initiative in 2022. They've screened over 8,200 patients. It's the first time, though, it is coast to coast now. It's going to stop in Manitoba mid-August. So mid-August. Fallon Katz is here ahead of that, though, CEO of Melanoma Canada. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. So tell me how this mobile works. Is it as simple as it sounds?
The Mole-Mobile is pretty simple. It operates like a walk-in clinic. So it's first come, first serve. We'll be at Walmart locations across Manitoba, as you said, starting mid-August, so August 14th in Brandon. And you can come on up if you have a mole or a lesion of concern. Essentially, you fill in some paperwork for us and hop on board, and the dermatologist will have a look.
Where did the idea to start the initiative come from?
I had the idea several years ago. 2020, back in 2023 was our first year we toured Ontario. There's a severe shortage of dermatologists across Canada, only 800 for a population of 40 million people. I believe there's about 25 to 30 in Manitoba, but don't quote me. That's leading to extremely long wait times and delays in diagnosis for melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancer. Of course, the majority are also practicing in major cities, leaving those in more remote and rural areas without access. So the Mole-Mobile brings access. It's a type of screening service that's available for other cancers and healthcare concerns, but wasn't available for melanoma or skin cancer in Canada.
Where does your personal passion for awareness about melanoma and skin cancer come from?
My mother has been diagnosed 3 times, twice with melanoma and once with a non-melanoma skin cancer, and just had another one biopsied a couple of weeks ago. So we're just waiting for results there. But of course, having been with Melanoma Canada now for just over 6 years, I hear the stories, unfortunately, of folks who lose loved ones. Quite frankly, unnecessarily, because 80% of melanomas are preventable. They're caused by UV rays from the sun or tanning beds. And so, hearing the stories from our community really gives me a lot of passion to do the work that we do.
What populations are being missed when it comes to reaching them with help or with screening?
Being missed really are, the remote, rural, and Indigenous communities. Like I said, the majority of dermatologists are practicing in major urban centers. Also, unfortunately, people with skin of color, melanoma and people with skin of color presents differently, often on non-sun exposed areas like the palms of the hands and soles of the feet, underneath the fingernails, and can often be misconstrued for a bruise that doesn't heal. So I would say those are some of the populations who are unfortunately being missed.
What frustrates you when you think about, maybe I shouldn't make it negative, but I wonder when you think about after all these years, you think we would know, right? So what don't people understand about melanoma when it comes to misconceptions that are still out there?
Yeah, I don't think people realize that, 3 people are dying every day from melanoma in this country. We often think about the sun is something we go out and enjoy because, winters are long in Canada, but we don't understand the consequences. And we really understand with, smoking that it's a class 1 carcinogen and alcohol isn't good for us. But, UV rays from tanning beds are a class 1 carcinogen. And the sun can be strong. And, there's unfortunately a lot of misinformation and information coming out of social media channels that are encouraging a young generation to go out there and enjoy the sun without protection. And our messaging isn't don't enjoy the sun. We want everyone to enjoy the sun, but do it safely. Wear sunscreen, ideally an SPF of 50 or higher. Cover up with UPF apparel or a thick woven fabric, a broad brim hat, and UV protective sunglasses. And try and do your activities outside of peak UV hours, which are between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. So, these trends like tan maxing or UV maxing, whatever you want to call it, these are really dangerous. And, our youth may not experience skin cancer today, but in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, they will experience these side effects So please be careful.
I don't know what your age is, but I mean, I'm of the age where I remember all of the oil up, go to Grand Beach, the baby boat and lying in the sun. And then I feel like everyone learned better. And then to watch younger generations now online and on socials doing all of this. Why do you think that this is sort of like, how concerning is it for you to see that that's returning now?
Yeah, the resurgence is devastating. We learned from smoking. There was a little bit of a resurgence with vaping, and it became, trendy again. These things have their cycles, and it's unfortunate. We're just seeing that this generation is getting their information from a different source, right? They're not understanding the credibility of the healthcare professionals, many of whom are also on social media, and I encourage you to follow them and get your health information from the experts.
What difference, just before you go this morning, has Momobile made since you started going around to communities?
It's made a huge difference. I mean, we've heard from these communities, from the people that we've unfortunately found a melanoma or a non-melanoma skin cancer on, and early detection is key. If we can catch these early, we can save lives. Just so far this year, we've been on the road since May 1st. We've been in 3 provinces, so Ontario, Alberta, and BC. We've done 6,347 screenings and found 726 skin cancers, including 183 melanomas. So that's a skin cancer on about 11% of people.
Thank you for
huge
sharing.
Difference. It's
Yeah, thanks for sharing the education and the numbers with us. Mid-August, I'm going to mention your stops in a moment here. We appreciate having you with us live on CBC Today.
Thank you for having me.
That's via Zoom live. Fallon Katz with us, the CEO of Melanoma Canada. So the Momobile is coming to Manitoba. It's stopping in a number of Manitoba cities. It starts on August 13th, and it will be in Winnipeg, Brandon, Portage, Selkirk, and then back in Winnipeg again. So you can head to melanomacanada.ca if you want to find a stop near you and more information for next month. It is 3 minutes now to 8 o'clock, and coming up after 8 right here on Information Radio, wildfires and another heat wave have hit parts of Europe. We're going to hear from a former Winnipegger who just moved to France. We'll hear more about what they've been experiencing. As you know, it's been quite something. Though there's been some positive developments in that story in France and what's happening. People are just starting to return home, we understand. So you're going to hear more about that on World Report also. But stay with us as we connect with her after 8. Right now, let's go to Heather Wells for news headlines.
Good morning. Well, branches scattered across town. Fences blown down, a tree on top of a car in the West End. 30,000 Manitoba Hydro customers without power this morning. All of that, the aftermath of that big storm that blew through last night. Peter Chura at Hydro says most of the outages are in western and southern parts of Winnipeg. However, areas around Portage la Prairie were also hit. And as crews work to restore power, Chura says the most important thing is safety. He asks you to stay far away from any downed power lines and to call Hydro if you come across downed lines. We're going to bring you the latest on the aftermath of last night's storm coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Coming up after 8 also, the Manitoba government has been touting lowering grocery prices, according to a new pamphlet that's been mailed to constituents. We're going to hear what Manitobans have to say about that, so stay tuned. But what we heard when we hit the street about grocery prices. A new report coming out yesterday as well, looking at prices. It's 23 in Winnipeg. Today's high is 29. Mix of sun and cloud. 30% chance of showers this morning to start. 2 minutes now to 8 o'clock. Now, when it comes to those power outages, they are affecting traffic. We have a number of intersections out. Some of the big ones, Waverly and Wilkes, Pembina and Plaza, Pembina and Obenoji-Mikina. Also, every intersection on Portage from Unicity to the perimeter. Corden and Tuxedo, Grant and Shaftesbury. Check before you go and expect delays. Just have a heads up when you're driving. 788-3093. Okay.
On cue. Renelta Arluk spent her childhood on a trap line in the Northwest Territories where nights ended around the campfire with stories. Those moments shaped one of Canada's most groundbreaking theater voices. She's here to tell you her story.
We would be in spring camp, just being near water, near the bush, in the trees.
Cue, this morning at 10.
10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Rebecca Zanbergen. It's that part of the summer holidays where kids might be getting bored, but more of them are turning to screens instead of books to entertain themselves. How to turn this around and what the effects might be coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. The union representing some WestJet flight attendants has issued a 72-hour strike notice. It means that if a deal is not reached, workers could be on the picket lines as early as Sunday. Chien Desjardins is following the story. Chien, what is the latest?
So much of this breaking overnight and right before what's a busy summer long weekend in many provinces. So the union represents 4,400 flight attendants at WestJet. And like you mentioned, this 72-hour strike notice means a strike could begin as soon as Sunday if the two sides don't reach a deal. So the union says one of the key issues is flight attendants not being paid for certain things like ground duties. Now, the airline responded by issuing a 72-hour lockout notice, warning that some flights could be grounded by tomorrow, but the two sides are still actively negotiating to reach a deal.
What does this mean for passengers?
Well, WestJet says it operates more than 600 flights per day, and on some days carrying more than 70,000 passengers. So if this strike does happen, it'll potentially be felt by many travelers. This is a big airline, Canada's second largest. Now, that being said, WestJet has been allowing passengers with flights scheduled between now and August 4th to make a one-time change or cancel with no fee, and says should flight delays or cancellations occur, impacted people will be refunded or reaccommodated, quote, as applicable.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The CBC, Chien Desjardins in studio. Police believe they have recovered the body of a missing 11-year-old Calgary boy. Parker disappeared about 2 weeks ago, prompting the community to rally together to try and find him. And as Ina Sadu reports, it is a heartbreaking end to an exhaustive search.
For nearly 2 weeks, so many people woke up hoping it would be the day Parker came home.
Calgary Police Chief Katie McLellan says the search that has gripped the city has ended in tragedy.
It is with profound sadness that I can confirm that we have found the body of a small child, which we believe to be Parker.
Parker was last seen July 16th wandering without a shirt. The 11-year-old was nonverbal. His disappearance prompted a massive search involving hundreds of officers and civilians. In the end, investigators say they received a tip from the public that a shoe had been found off a busy highway. Police had searched that general area around a creek before. Search manager Sergeant Rich Wall says they believe Parker wandered into a network of tunnels that were difficult to access.
The pipe is a 4-foot concrete pipe that goes into a myriad of other pipes. The labyrinths of pipes change in different diameters.
Inspector Lee Wayne with the Major Crimes Unit says they never gave up hope.
It's a somber day for Calgary today, but really our thoughts are with Parker's family.
Police say they are grateful to everyone who helped search for the little boy. Ina Sadu, CBC News, Calgary.
People in the Ukrainian city of Lviv clear out the debris of a building damaged by a Russian strike. At least 8 people were killed and dozens more were injured across the country overnight. The heaviest casualties are being reported in the western city and also the Dnipro regions. In Kyiv, underground metro stations are serving as shelters. People seeking cover say they don't believe Russia wants peace.
For the sake of our children and all Ukrainians, we want to sleep peacefully, not live in constant fear of terrible explosions. We just want a normal, decent life in Ukraine.
NATO member Poland, meanwhile, is confirming this morning that a Russian missile fell within Polish borders overnight. More countries are being pulled into the U.S.-Israel war in Iran. The U.S. military has confirmed it launched a wave of strikes against Iran. It says it was in retaliation for attempted attacks on U.S. military positions in nearby countries. Today, Egypt's government says a fire at one of its ports was caused by a drone attack. The CBC's Willie Lowry joins me now from Washington. And Willie, what can you tell us?
So U.S. Central Command is confirming that Washington rolled out a wave of heavy strikes on several Iranian military targets. The White House says it is responding to what it calls a surprise attack by Iran yesterday, targeting military command centers, missile and drone facilities, as well as coastal surveillance and defense sites in Iran. President Donald Trump outlined the current state of the war while speaking to journalists on Wednesday.
We're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming. They're asking us not to do it.
Iran responded by launching missiles at U.S. bases in Jordan, which were intercepted. They also, though, hit a facility belonging to a Chinese company in Kuwait. Kuwait's defense ministry says one person was killed in that attack. All of this is happening while Saudi Arabia and Egypt appear to be getting drawn into the conflict. Earlier this week, Saudi Arabia took part in joint strikes with the U.S. against Iranian-backed militia in Iraq, and a suspected Iranian drone attack has hit an Egyptian port.
Has there been any movement on the peace negotiations?
Not really. Pakistan's foreign ministry says the country is doing its best to try to get both sides back to the negotiating table, but at least for the time being, the countries appear content to trade tit-for-tat strikes. Iran believes time is on its side as the war drags closer and closer to the U.S. midterms in November, while the U.S. says it's dominating Iran militarily. U.S. President Donald Trump has so far refrained from returning to full-out war, but according to U.S. media, he has been given multiple options by the military.
Thank you, Willie.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington.
Viva España! Viva España!
A man shouts, "Long live Spain," after arriving on the shores of the tiny Spanish territory of Ceuta. He is among thousands of people, mainly Moroccans, making their way to the small enclave, most of them by swimming. The Spanish government has declared a national emergency. The government is also asking for army intervention. The migrants are mostly young men, but there are also families. Local authorities in Ceuta warn that migrant reception centers are already overwhelmed. Japan's government says at least 30 people are dead after Tuesday's earthquake. Many of them died at a paper factory and a shopping mall near the southwestern city of Kumamoto. Police have released video of officers combing through the destroyed shopping center. A suspected gas explosion tore through the building minutes after the quake. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara says relief efforts continue around the clock.
Saving lives and rescuing those affected by the disaster is truly a race against time. Today as well, the police, fire services, and self-defense forces will continue to make every possible effort in rescue and life-saving operations.
Thousands of people have been moved to evacuation shelters. Tens of thousands are without power. The Italian tall ship Amerigo Vespucci is now docked in Montreal. The ship is named after an Italian explorer from the 1500s. This is the last stop on its North American tour. And as Gloria Enriquez reports, Montrealers are being welcomed aboard. To take a look.
It's a sailboat, very magnifico.
Denise Desrochers drove half an hour from Saint-Bruno-de-Montarville in Quebec to the port of Montreal's Grand Quai to see the Amerigo Vespucci in all its glory. The wooden vessel, built in 1931, features 4 masts with thick ropes streaming down and a giant green, white, and red flag waving off the stern.
Imagine the people... the pirates.
While there are no pirates on board, there are about 400 crew members. The Vespucci is used as a training ship for the Italian Navy. Inside the wheelhouse, Lieutenant Tommaso Megenes describes how the ship turns. 8 cadets use 4 wooden wheels to steer, so if they want to turn 10 degrees...
They have to move this one like 40 times. And it's very, very hard.
The ship is also a floating ambassador for Italy.
That's a very unique moment for us.
Julien Baudry is with the Montreal Port Authority. He says the Vespucci is arriving at the perfect time.
At a moment where Canada wants to diversify, when we get that type of ship coming at the Port of Montreal, We are developing close ties.
Baudry says Italy is the Port of Montreal's third largest trading partner and has a long history of welcoming Italian immigrants. The ship's visit, he says, celebrates all those connections. Gloria Enriquez, CBC News, Montreal.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime at cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, still dark here in parts of Winnipeg because of the storm last night and some hydro outages. We'll have the latest from our news department in a moment. Branches down. It's a bit of a slow start to the day in Winnipeg. A stormy night last night. Thanks for joining us. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is CBC's Information Radio, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app, or you might be watching on YouTube, where this half hour in the show you're going to see a guest that we are reaching out to in France. As you know from hearing the news, wildfires and heat waves have been hitting parts of Europe hard. Hundreds of thousands of people have been on the move and evacuated. And this morning we do understand that some people are heading home. But the situation has been dire. We're going to talk to a former Winnipegger who just moved to France. We're going to hear about what they've been experiencing coming up. In addition, this hour on the program, here at home, the Manitoba government is touting it has lowered grocery prices. That's according to a new pamphlet being mailed to constituents. And they did take the PST off groceries. But we hit the street to hear what Manitobans are seeing at the stores. Right now, let's go to Heather Wells and find out more about the headlines this morning. Hi there.
Hi, good morning. Well, 30 Manitoba Hydro customers are without power this morning as the latest summer storm rolled across the province. Branches are scattered across Winnipeg. Fences are down. We've got photos of a tree on top of a car in the West End. All of this as the aftermath of last night's storm. At one point, wind gust was clocked at 91 kilometers an hour. Peter Chura at Manitoba Hydro says the most important thing is safety. He asks you stay far away from any downed power lines. The death of a dog rescue volunteer has led 18 animal welfare organizations to call on governments to do more to mitigate dog overpopulation. Amanda Nobis died earlier this month at Sandy Bay, Ojibwe Nation. The Winnipeg Humane Society and other groups are asking all three levels of government to better fund and coordinate efforts to help dogs. Those stories and more coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
All right, thank you, Heather.
Thanks.
Yeah, we just got that number at 7:30 from Hydro. So as Heather mentioned, 30,000 customers without power, and we'll continue to stay on that as well in the day and see how quickly they can restore things. Okay, today is going to be hot. Not quite as hot as yesterday, though, Abby?
Yeah, not quite as hot as yesterday. The South still recovering from those overnight storms we saw here in Winnipeg. We are looking at temperatures. It's not 9 yet, Marcy. It's already 25 degrees in the city, and there's still lots of sunshine to really warm things up today. You will notice some local smoke. Expect maybe some showers and some thunderstorms as we clear into the afternoon period, as we notice the winds shifting to the northwest near the noon period. We will see a high climb to 29 degrees and the humidex. It's going to feel close to 39 degrees with a UV index 8+, which means it's going to be on the dangerous side if you spend time outside. So look out for the pets. If they're feeling thirsty, please give them some water when you take them out for that walk. In the southern regions, we're seeing 24 around the Brandon area and 23 in the Gimli area. But up north, it's more about those foggy conditions still holding things down in the Churchill area, with temperature just around 15 degrees. We'll see highs in, let's say, close to 27 in the northern part of the province. But for Winnipeg, we are sunny at 25 at this time. We warm up to 29 later.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Abby Adiyemi with our forecast. And now Corey Funk with the list of what's going on in traffic.
Lots of outages in major intersections across the city. So here's the list that I have so far from all folks who've called in with updates for me. Portage and Wall, and there's also been a collision there as well, going westbound Portage in the curb lane. Keep left to get around that if that still is a problem. It's been for about an hour or so ago that collision happens. Just that left lane left westbound Portage at Wall. Portage and Dominion also out. Roblin and Dale, Grant and Shaftesbury, Jubilee and Pembina, Jubilee and Coburn, Sargent and St. James. Also heard about intersection there on southbound St. James in the median lane right at the intersection with Sargent. So keep right to get around that. Thanks for Bryce for that call. Pembina and right at St. Norbert there, also out. Roblin and Moray, Harry and Grant, Academy and Wellington, Waverly and Wilkes, Plaza and Pembina, Pembina and Abinogi Meekina. That's a big one. Also, Nicole said that pretty much every intersection on West Portage from Unicity to the perimeter also out, as well as Cordon and Tuxedo. The little bit of good news I got was that Lage Moriere and Cottonwood, those lights are no longer flashing red. But if you have any other updates for me, if you know the lights are back on or if there's other lights that I missed there that are out, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. Thanks to the dozens of people who have called so far. That number 204-788-3093.
Well, the videos have been harrowing. Hundreds of thousands of people on the move in a fire that is out of control. This morning, we do find some control in Europe, where some people have been allowed home in certain areas. There's been multiple heat waves rolling through the continent since May. European countries report more than 10,000 excess deaths during the record-breaking heat wave across the region, and that number coming from late June. If you're watching us on YouTube this morning, you can just see images that we have from the region, and unimaginable amount of smoke billowing into the air as wildfires also continue to rage. Now, there's unprecedented fires in France and Spain, as you've been hearing on World Report, and a new heat wave has hit both countries as well this month, and it's been holding this week. Nicole Dupéret is a former Winnipegger who retired to France this spring. She joins us on Zoom from Toulouse. This is about 200 kilometers southeast of the huge fires that are affecting Bordeaux and threatening Bordeaux. So thank you for being with us.
Hi there. Nice to hear from you and happy to be here.
What's it like in Toulouse? You have taken in evacuees, I understand, in the community.
Yes, we've taken in the elderly, and then they've been relocated to different areas, either inside or just around the city, until they're able to get back home.
Yeah.
Other than that, smoke-wise, because I'm hearing you talking about smoke, we haven't had as much smoke here. The air has been okay for us. And I'm kind of comparing with Manitoba, because I mean, last summer I was there, and it was horrible. And I'm hearing that it's as bad this year with all the smoke and that. So it doesn't seem as bad in Toulouse for smoke for this area.
How are you handling the heat there, Nicole? What's it been like for you personally?
Well, I like summer and I like heat, and one of the reasons we decided to move to the south of France or southwest is to have warmer temperatures. We didn't expect quite this warm. It is hot. This actually today feels kind of cool. It's only 32 and they're predicting another heat wave, but it's been up to 40. We were in our first apartment and we were moving to this one. It's about a 15-minute walk up a slight hill and over a bridge. And we did that by foot, pulling a cart with our lovely belongings at 40 plus degrees. So it's a little bit warm.
No doubt. I heard it. I heard at 9 o'clock at night, it's even staying at like 34 degrees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think last night it was 34, 35 still. You kind of get used to it because you know that that's what it is.
Yeah.
We're fortunate in our apartment that the way it's set up, we have balcony on one end and then the bedrooms down the hall at the other end, and there's a nice breeze. So during the day, we usually close the windows so that the hot air doesn't come in. But then in the evening or at night, we open everything and it kind of cools off.
Yeah, because you don't have AC, I heard.
40 or 38, it doesn't get very cool.
Yeah. How much rain have you had, if at all?
We didn't have much rain. There were a couple of days of drizzle mid-May. And then we kept being threatened with rain for the past couple of weeks. Big thunderstorm, hail, rain, and nothing would happen. And then last week, I think it might have been Friday night, around midnight, it started raining and it was coming down hard. And it was fun to see, everybody out on their balcony cheering and hanging out their balcony and sticking out their arms and washing their faces, and everybody was happy. And then the next morning the plants were greener, and but that's been the one night of rain, so there hasn't been much rain, and we've been here since May 2nd, almost 3 months.
Yeah.
Not a lot of rain.
It's so extreme all
very
over.
dry.
It's so extreme all over the world right now. It would seem, despite what it is like there in Europe this year and in France. How's it been for you? How's the move been for you? How's France? Amazing.
Oh, we love it. It's been wonderful. I speak French, so that's a plus, of course. But people are friendly, people are helpful. And you got to adapt because everything is different. You know, the bureaucracy, it's true, it's slower. You want something, you have to do it online. The websites don't always work like we would want them to. So in that way, you have to get used to something completely different. But at the same time, we're somewhere else. So for sure it's going to be different. And you just, go with it and enjoy the adventure for what it is.
Well, thank you very much for giving us a little bit of a view into what's happening on that side of the world this morning. We appreciate your time live on CBC.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
That is Nicole Duperry. She's a former Winnipegger. She just retired to Toulouse. She's in France. And as you heard, in Toulouse, they have been hosting evacuees from the outlying wildfire area, specifically some of the elderly folks. For the latest, World Report's been carrying what is happening with the fires across Spain and France. Some people late yesterday were told they can return to their homes, but of course, there's tens of thousands of people affected there.
Manitoba is a conversation that never stops. From your first coffee with information radio to the midday pulse of Radio Noon and the drive home with Up to Speed. Don't let your day get in the way of your favorite shows. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Bring your community with you. Download the CBC News app and stay live with us.
The time right now is 8:22 a.m. on 89.3 FM. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You might be watching on YouTube as well. Thanks for being with us. Darren Marash and Corey Funk and Abby Adiyemi, our team in the control room. Heather Wells and Matt Humphrey and Aaron Broman in our news center this morning, keeping track of what's happened in the aftermath of the storm last night. Still 30,000 customers without power, according to Manitoba Hydro. So in Winnipeg today, we don't have a heat warning, but it will be still hot. As Abby said, it's not even 9 and it's 25. Our high today's 29, and we have a 30% chance we'll still see some showers this morning, though once that clears off, we're going to be left with a day with a mix of sun and cloud. Local smoke will also be a factor today, at least here in Winnipeg. Well, next on the show, Lower Grocery Prices is the title of an NDP pamphlet that might show up in your mailbox. It's been sent out to households. It's a booklet, in fact. It has pictures of food items like rotisserie chicken, prepared soups, snacks. All of them no longer have PST. But experts are saying something different about the price of food. Dalhousie University's Agri-Food Analytics Lab found that the total price of 50 standard food items in Winnipeg actually increased between June and July. Now, CBC's Ian Fraze showed Winnipeggers this pamphlet and asked for them to weigh in on the price of groceries.
Name is Gail, and the last name is Wolfram.
Do you tend to buy some of these items?
Let's see. I do buy the prepared soups and salads. I buy the trail mix. Milk, of course. Everybody buys milk. And the rotisserie, I buy it.
You buy it, yeah.
I buy all that stuff. And it's great that we're going to save some money on it.
Do you feel like this is true, that grocery prices are getting lower?
No. Well, I mean, obviously that's nice, but I don't know how it helps grocery prices. It helps me a little bit of tax savings. That's good.
When I asked you if you feel like this is true, you said no. Why not?
Well, if you're talking lower prices of the actual groceries, this doesn't help that. It helps you not pay the tax on them, which obviously does help, but the actual prices are still going up way too much. And your stores are gouging. Yeah. And I don't know what any government can do about that. Prices going up on a fixed pension, pretty tough.
Like, have you noticed, like, this year versus last year, are you noticing the prices get increased?
Oh, yes, I have. Because I have to watch prices, right? Because I'm on a fixed budget.
How much do you spend on a week?
I allow myself about $300 a month for groceries. with an emergency extra 100 if I have to, but I try not to, which means you eliminate a lot of meat products because you can't afford them. And, you just eat different foods.
Do you remember what that budget was a year ago, 2 years ago?
Well, my budget was always about $400, but you could just buy more with that, right? Now the prices of stuff are such that you get a lot less for that amount.
So what are you cutting back on? Meat?
Yeah, I back off on the meat, which, who can afford to eat beef? Just can't afford it. And I'm very careful, wait for sales, stuff like that on the meat side of things. And anything that's really high priced, I try not to have too much of.
Doug Palmer. Like, I see how it would help families with kids. Like, it's got to be struggling there. Like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be raising a kid in this day and age. It'd be tough, right?
The cover page of this says lower grocery prices.
Right.
Does it feel like that's true?
No, not really. And it can go up, but it never comes down. In certain stores you can see it does come down at times, right? Like Costco. Their prices, yeah, things go up, but they do come down. So, yeah, Safeway's a bit frustrating, but it's convenient too, right? Because you just live around the corner, so.
You live here in Osborne Village?
Yes.
So what did you buy? What did you buy?
Okay, I bought some hot dogs and some buns. And how much was it? $15? $15.29.
What did that used to cost?
Probably $10, right?
How long ago? Like, is this a common thing you would have purchased?
Not really. Like, it's not. Okay, so I looked at a prime rib roast in there, right? A 3-rib prime rib roast, $103. That's a little insane, right? And is it something I would buy? Yes, it is. At that price, probably. Because I want it, right? And I want to eat. But, yeah, like the price of beef is crazy. Like, insane.
That was CBC's Ian Fraze talking to some Winnipeggers about the price of groceries and also against the pamphlet that you might see from the NDP in the mail about the cut on PST. The expert yesterday did say it's going to take some time for that PST cut to show up on your grocery bill. Time right now is 8:26, and we have a little bit of music for you this morning. Earlier today at, right out the gate, it started the show. We were talking about this weekend, the long weekend, and that means Gimli's going to be full of people for the Icelandic festival. Islandiga. I usually get it right. I'm not even going to go there right now. I'm just going to say the Gimli Fest. It is on, and there's all kinds of different things going on, of course, including the Viking Village and all kinds of food, and you can celebrate the culture and the music. So we have one of the groups that's playing in Gimli this weekend. Here's a local band playing tomorrow. These are the Prairie Joggers, and Move Along.
Boss always pulling at his necktie, trying to find a way to squeeze a dime. Keeps warm with a belly full of beer, bucket of chicken at his side. Wife ain't getting any younger, flowers right dead in the sun. She'll come by for the lobster fry with $2 signs in her eyes. Find a space that isn't this place, whatever you do. And a cigarette. There goes another waitress in the company's skimpy dress. 86, another one done. Never noticed that she'd gone. Find a space that isn't this place. Whatever you do, move along. Find a space that isn't this place. Whatever you do, move along.
So while we listen to the Prairie Joggers and get ready for them to play Islandinga Dogrin, Thank you. At the Gimli Festival this weekend, we thought we would thank the folks that worked on our program this morning. So the senior producer of audio at CBC Manitoba is Leif Larson. The producer of all the current affairs shows is Nellie Gonzalez. From our news department, Aaron Broman, Matt Humphrey, and Heather Wells, and others that worked on our show from our control room, the Mighty Three, Abby Adeyemi, Corey Funk, and Darren Marash. And our associate producers, also a Mighty Three, Sophia Peralta Barone, Sierra Sanders, and Emily Enns. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work on the show. And we will let the music take us to your 8:30 news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it's 23 degrees. The sun is shining. We will see a mix of sun and clouds today. Not as hot as yesterday. A high of 29, the humidex at 38. Well, tens of thousands of Manitobans are without power right now after last night's big thunderstorms. CBC's Matt Humphrey joins us live now with the latest on the aftermath of the storm.
Heather, this is just the latest summer storm to leave a trail of destruction. Wind speed was clocked at higher than 90 kilometers an hour in Winnipeg. We have reports of downed trees on people's cars, downed trees on people's fences, downed trees and branches taking out power lines. The traffic lights are out at certain intersections. Manitoba Hydro says most of the outages are in the center of Winnipeg and radiating outwards. That's the language they used. And there are outages west of the city as well, around Portage-la Prairie and Treeherne. I spoke with Peter Chura earlier this morning. He says roughly 30,000 customers are in the dark.
Most important thing right now, Matt, is we're assessing as many sites of outages as we can and making them safe. And that's the message for everybody out there is if you see downed lines, stay at least 10 meters away and call 911. Safety is the main message right now. There's lots of lines down. There's lots of trees down on lines.
We also have reports of trees down in Waverly Heights and Linden Woods. Many of the outages are in the western and southern parts of the city, including Charleswood and St. Patel. Chura says crews are working hard, but with so many outages, there's no clear estimation yet on when power will be restored. Reporting live, Matt Humphrey, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Thanks so much, Matt. Well, new pamphlets from the NDP government are hitting mailboxes this week. They say lower grocery prices, but some question if that's true. Opposition PC leader Abi Khan points to a new report this week showing the price of standard grocery items in Winnipeg increased from June to July.
Ask Manitobans what they're actually seeing, and there's not one Manitoban that will say grocery prices are lower. My make of it is that the NDP are completely misleading Manitobans.
The government's mailer points to this month's elimination of the PST on some foods, but Khan says shoppers haven't noticed any savings because the price of groceries keeps rising. The tax was removed on prepared food, chips, and soda drinks. A coalition of animal welfare groups is asking the province and federal government for more funding for rescues. It follows the death of a Winnipeg volunteer, Amanda Nobis, on Sandy Bay, Ojibwe Nation. She died after being attacked by dogs earlier this month. Canine Advocacy, Partners in Prevention, and the Winnipeg Humane Society are asking governments to work with First Nations. Katie Powell helped organize a rally for volunteers yesterday at the legislature.
Supporting community-led programs, that's the biggest thing that we want to address, is that it has to come from these First Nation communities. It has to come from the communities itself that want the change, and then we have to support those programs.
Another request the group is asking for is better access to veterinary services in remote communities. The union for some WestJet flight attendants has issued a 72-hour strike notice. It means if a deal isn't reached, workers could be on picket lines as early as Sunday. The two sides are still actively negotiating to reach a deal. Construction is expected to start soon for a transitional housing project for military veterans. The Homes for Heroes Foundation held a sod turning yesterday at the site in Transcona. The foundation says it's just a few permits away from beginning construction. R.G. Hemlow is one of the veterans who was on hand yesterday.
It just makes you feel like you really are seen, because at times we feel like we've been pushed aside, especially when you retire after a while.
The project was announced 4 years ago, but because of delays, the Winnipeg Veterans Village isn't expected to open until next spring. A farmer in southeast Manitoba says he lost about 20% of his crops because of wet conditions earlier this year. Vern Johnson farms in the arm of Springfield. He wants to salvage what's left.
There was more applied because of the humidity and the moisture and everything that breeds disease, which is why we spray fungicide. Some fields, however, too, were actually just not sprayed because they were so bad. They were just too drowned out to warrant an application of fungicide.
Reg Friesen runs Prairie Sky, a crop dusting company near Niverville. He tells CBC he's seeing more farmers turning to spraying this year because of the hot, humid weather. As he also says, it's busier than usual because many fields were too wet to access using ground equipment. And a new college campus has officially opened its doors in Winnipeg. The Louis Riel College has been operating for more than a decade without a dedicated campus. That all changes with the opening of its new downtown campus in the Manitoba Métis Federation building on Main Street. Joanne Remillard is the MMF's Minister of Provincial Education.
We just look forward to our citizens and students coming to learn, to be part of our community, actually helping their families.
You can find more on all these stories, including the latest on last night's storm. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
All right, Corey.
Lots of intersections out on Portage, including Portage and Well, Portage and Dominion, and lots of intersections between Portage up in Unicity and the perimeter. So just keep your wits about the intersections out all over the city.
All right, I've been hosting Noon the last couple of days, filling in for Marjorie Dahos. Today, you are hosting Noon. What's your call-in?
We're talking local history today. Tell us your favorite bits of local history. There's a history teacher in Morden that's digitizing the local newspaper and finding some interesting stuff about Morden through that. So we're going to ask you, what is your interesting bit about local history from where you're from?
Love that. Super cool. Maybe you're exploring some local history.
I know.
So that's at 12:15, right through 1 o'clock right here. It's province-wide. And let's get a last look at the weather from Abby.
Southern Manitoba, Dauphin is at 18 at this time. Every other region close to 25. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds, highs around 29. While up north, we're looking at 13 to 21 with foggy conditions towards the Churchill area. Winnipeg, 25 and sunny. It's going to feel like 38 today.
Well, that's it. That's all. But that's not everything. Stay with CBC through the day for your latest news. Local programming at noon and also between 3 and 6 o'clock. Take care. Be well. Thanks for listening. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe. The Current's coming up next on 89.3.